I'm Commander Shepard, and you're listening to my favorite podcast on the Citadel, Raw Dogs.
Is it though?
It is. Well, we're excited for you. Shit.
Yeah.
Did you propose to her?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You sound really hot on the idea.
Well, no, I actually am carving her a ring right now. I did already propose the idea because I had a weird health scare, and I'm like, I need health insurance. But I'm actually I've actually been practicing wood carving. I'm actually going to by hand without any power tools carve her a ring.
What are you gonna write in Elvish around the ring?
Dylan's old lady.
This is like a grandma.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, it's going to be a fun time anyway.
Welcome to Raw Dogs, everybody. We are a podcast that does deep dives into video game topics.
It's true.
Yeah. We're on every other week. We alternate with our brother-sister podcast, Hair of the Dog Cast.
What's up, brothers?
I like to think of her as a sister.
And we are the younger brother.
Yeah, we're like the shitty younger brother.
But we talk about video games and beer. I'm Brad. I'm one of your hosts. And, of course, the lovable Big Tex, also known as...
It's me, Big Tex.
Also known as Big Tex.
Also known as Big Tex. But some people call me Dylan only if you're family. And you're not family. So call me Big Tex.
Because our family would never listen to this. We have
if
one.
My mom does, congratulations.
Yeah. Oh, your baby made it.
You
Dylan
should be
made
so
it.
proud.
Big Tex made it.
By the way, I have told my family about this, and I'm like, yeah, you could support us on Patreon or something.
You should have not let them find out and make them listen to Patreon.
Listen, I'm an only child, so the whole entire theme of this is my mom should support me in whatever I do, and she still has not supported me in this. So if you want to see that as a good or bad thing,
mom,
come on.
Her name's Tammy. She's wonderful. I love my mom.
Tammy, you're great.
She supports me in every other way.
Even greater.
She supports me in every other way.
Go to patreon.com/hairofthedogcast
To find out more.
And
we love Allison. She was on our Valentine's episode.
Uh-huh.
We have one of our usual suspects here on Raw Dogs.
Hello.
Al Pacino.
What are you talking about today?
Hey, we got it. We got out of him. It's Tom, of course, Tom.
Hi, I don't know.
Hi, my name's Tom.
Tom is one of the hosts on Hair of the Dogcast.
That's right.
We all know him.
Hey.
We love him.
I hope so. I hope you love me.
He's okay.
But we have a special
He
guest.
gives me rides,
I like you. I like you.
Thanks, Stoy.
Yeah.
We just needed someone to drive Dylan here.
I don't like paying for Ubers.
We have a special guest, Stoy. Welcome back.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
Of course, one of the hosts of EXPCast.
You came back.
Yeah, I came back.
I don't know why, but thank you.
Well, I had a decent enough time.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
And
thanks for having me on.
We're here to continue talking about Bioware. We discussed everything up through, Jade Empire, and then we just dabbled a little bit into Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood and the Old Republic, the online before. But
It's the end of the golden
The
age
infancy. Yes.
End of the golden age.
There's a lot to talk about before we talk. We mentioned the end of the golden age because we have two titanic trilogies here, which the Mass Effect series easily one of my favorite game series of all time.
All time.
Yeah.
All time.
I
Those
agree.
are big words.
I know what I said. I said it. I thought about it.
I think
read
it's
about
quite
it.
universally praised as being one of the better trilogies.
It
Turns out,
Yeah.
everyone's got the same idea.
Yeah.
There is some missteps in the series we'll get to, but then we're also going to get into Dragon Age and then the fall, the inevitable fall. But before we get into those other things, Mass Effect. It affected me in a massive way.
Yeah.
It'll be stuck in my head.
That soundtrack
for the rest
is
of my life.
fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like an action RPG. This was when first-person shooters were getting RPG elements and RPGs were getting first-person shooter elements, and it was kind of this awkward phase where they were kind of becoming one because it was just the natural evolution of things.
Yeah.
But they wanted to create their own universe with their own rules, free of licensing, free of IP.
Yep.
And they created a pretty outstanding universe.
Yeah.
Absolutely astounding.
When I think of Mass Effect, I think about the races, the aliens, the characters. Some of the grander evil elements do become lost to me.
They also ditch a lot of their sci-fi core gameplay elements. When you talk about a video game that has mechanics that match its story, they lose that in the second one pretty fucking quick.
There's so
because
much
of the literal title of the game. We'll get into it in a
The
second. I can't even get far enough.
the implications of what they were aiming for with the trilogy, where you make a decision in this first game. Do you kill the Rachni Queen, this giant insect-like species that can control other beings?
First of all, let's go around the table. Who killed the Rachni Queen?
Not me.
Not me.
I don't remember.
I will
did
not
not.
exterminate a species
Yeah,
just
I was
because
gonna
they
say
were
that's not my
misunderstood.
role.
Yeah, I'm not interested in genocide.
I don't think I did.
Yeah.
Not interested.
We are
I was an asshole back
against genocide on this podcast.
And we talked about
firmly.
this off air that there was a recent article that was posted that 90% of the players that played the Mass Effect universe games all went the Paragon route.
yeah.
So
I think part of that is the repercussions. If they didn't, they were afraid. You do need to be a little bit of a badass in order to make a few moves. Because
well, if you
I
want to
don't-
romance Jack, yeah, you got to be a badass.
that's why I was
Yeah.
a little bit of a badass.
You have to.
And I think you needed some renegade points to save Rex in the first game
No.
too. No?
No, you didn't need to.
I thought you
it
needed-
was just one
You just
solid
have
choice.
you have to calm him down.
Yeah.
I thought you had to like be
No.
a powerful dude. No,
You literally have to calm him down on the beach near that Solarian base.
But I
Yeah,
think
where he wanted to storm the Solarian base, and he's like, "Well, fucking kill these guys," and it's like, "Hey,
You're just like,
calm
dude.
down, calm down, okay?
basically have to explain to him time and a place, not now.
Not now."
well, that
Yeah.
what Saren was creating Krogans to make an army.
Yeah.
And he wasn't sure if there would be something that could help cure the genophage. We didn't even know if anything was in there. Luckily, though, that whole debacle, we got rid of Ashley, the racist.
I got rid of
You got rid of Caden?
Caden. Yeah.
I got rid of Caden.
He was, dude,
Same
that-
here.
Ashley has the
Yeah.
better abilities.
God
And if you
damn it,
want-
Caden's
if
a
you
wet
want pure
blanket, but at least he's
bionics,
not
you can choose
racist.
someone else.
Yeah, Ashley is kind of racist, I suppose.
You know,
Yeah, but she's so fine.
Ultimately, I end up not like wishing that
Oh
I
my
had let
God.
Caden die. By the time Mass Effect 3 rolls around and Caden is brought back, or Ashley, Caden was essentially just put on a platter and is like, you can bone me as a male now. That's like his whole character arc in Mass Effect 3 is like, oh God, just wish I had saved the racist lady. She was a speciest, maybe? I guess.
yeah,
It's
specious. Yeah,
specious.
that's it.
Yeah. She was
Checks out.
She cared more about human rights, which
She was very right wing. Jesus.
Yeah.
Right
Wing.
Why?
she's very white ring. Human beings are essentially newer to the universe in Mass Effect.
I would just want to say, like, this, to me, BioWare's secret sauce is how it has always been their ability to world build.
We have to put this almost solely at
Almost
the feet
second to none.
of Drew Karpyshyn is a fantastic writer. If they had kept him for 3, I don't think the game would have been nearly
He went to Old Republic.
of the end.
He was working on the Old Republic at the time.
Was he?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was, yeah.
But world building, as you were saying, Tom.
World building, yes. This was, the first Mass Effect, or the entire trilogy, rather, but, starting with Mass Effect itself, just the richness and the just the deepness of the backstory and just the fully realization of the world.
You can feel it in the details of just every interaction. There's a whole universe behind
Yeah.
it, and experiences and races and interactions, characters.
Yes, I picture every developer at BioWare having like a 10,000 page Bible of before they even started working on this game. Sitting on their desk. It's probably not
Exactly.
the case. They probably made it up as kind of as they went everywhere out.
I think
Same
like
thing with Dragon Age.
I think the main points are very straightforward. humanity is the newcomer in this entire realm.
Okay.
And so that gives you the entrance as a viewer / player into this whole entire world.
Yes.
Because it takes place after the Turian War, the Emergence War, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Humans discovered Prothean ruins on Mars. They discovered
relay.
the mass relay network, which shot them faster than light to the other stuff. That's where they encountered the Turians.
Right.
And I love that the Citadel is like the main hub of all the civilization. It was discovered intact by the Asari. So this whole thing was already there.
By the Proteans.
Oh, when it wasn't the Protheans, it was the Reapers created the Citadel.
Yeah.
Oh,
but the
you're
Protheans
right.
maintained it.
It's been so long since I played this game. I thought I knew everything going into this, and I completely forgot.
There's so much going
You
on
got the
there.
little workers. Nobody knows what they do.
keepers?
The keepers,
Yeah.
yes.
No one
Weird
knows what they're
robots.
doing or
Right.
how they're
With
doing it.
secret ventilation shafts and shit like
Yeah.
that. That's
Like,
very
wouldn't you
funny.
want to question them? Like, what? Come on.
I don't know.
But they're the ones that allowed the Reapers to. Never mind.
I know. It's
No,
Right?
I mean,
It's just-
there's so much we want to talk about.
We're going to.
Yeah.
Do you think we should just talk about like what some of the main species are? Or you want to just talk about characters?
Let's
and how
talk
they
about
ro-
species.
Yeah, because I think coming into Mass Effect, just the different types of alien species and all their different facets and different character traits. Just,
So
it's,
good. I'm
Yeah,
so
it's so
excited.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
We have to.
I mean, that's the core.
Yeah.
It's
All
the
right.
interplay, the political.
So, we all have a favorite, probably, in terms of the species in the Mass Effect universe.
Yeah, oh
I'm going to go around and I'm going to ask every single one. Tom?
Shit.
Asking for one.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I have strong feelings about many of them.
Yeah.
Man, I am. I like
Krogan?
Tally, and I do like the Krogan.
They're all like so well thought out and
I know.
fleshed
And then you
out.
have the secondary, the Elcor, of course.
Damn it! Do you go Elcor? I was gonna
No,
go.
I just
Elcor.
said 3 of them, so
Okay.
I'm like, yeah.
The Elcor won best original species created in a video game.
It is.
Yeah, because they have to actually like project their feeling or their emotion before
they're-
they speak.
yeah, 'cause they're monotone.
Because they're monotone, yeah.
The way they emote is so subtle,
Yeah.
and it's like through pheromones as well that you wouldn't even understand.
Sarcastic reply.
Right.
You wouldn't even understand.
They're all Eeyore.
Yes.
Subtle disgust.
Depressed.
Okay, Elcor. Yes. So I mean,
How about you? How about you?
I was gonna say Elcor.
Really? Elcor? What about you?
Well, I mean, as far as it's such a unique concept.
It's interesting.
It's
yeah.
interesting. Instead of, you got the Asari, they look like sexy alien ladies, and they have the Turians.
Yeah, but
which,
they
I mean,
also
they're-
don't need men, which is what's cool.
That's cool, but the Elcor and
not
like
cool.
the
Not
Hanar,
for
they're
you.
so non-humanoid. Everything about them is quite different. I mean, even the Elcor, they have 2 eyes and 4 limbs, so it's a little more like you could see a common evolutionary tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Hanar, just like that
The
jellyfish,
jellyfish
species,
guys.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
come from a different concept altogether. But the Elcor,
Hanar are cool.
Yeah.
I just loved talking with the Elcor. They're slow, they're prodding, they're almost kind of like Ents from Lord of the Rings. to
What are
an
the
extent.
little dwarf guys? I forget their name.
Volus.
The Volus,
Thank
yeah.
you.
A couple things about the Elcor before we move on.
Here we go.
boy.
So
Brad's Elcor hour.
Right. Yeah.
some become artists and actors.
What?
And an all Elcor version of Hamlet was performed, and it was award-winning in the universe. It was a 14-hour long version of
I
Hamlet.
remember that in one of
It
the.
shows some of that in the comic books.
Yeah.
Have you read some of the comics?
I have.
They show some of that.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to splice in some Elcor fucking dialogue.
I hope there's... Yeah, we'll get some of that dialogue.
Chastising rebuke. Your tone is inappropriate, Din. This human is not to blame for your malcontent or your misconceived suspicions.
At one point, an Elcor serial killer prowled the Citadel,
Yeah.
killing people. Vengeful hatred. I'm right behind you, bitch.
Right.
Like,
Just
you
stay there
bitch.
for 6 hours.
and I guess the Elcor were not too military. Like,
No.
Not too militant because they are so slow, but they were good at building technology to protect them.
Their gravity
played
was super
chess,
high. Right? Wasn't that the thing on the
Very
planet?
high gravity world. That's why
Yeah.
they move so slowly.
Look at the
Let's cover some of the weirder ones first. The Volus.
The Volus. Basically, they wear giant
the
gas
masks,
masks.
right?
Yeah.
Because there's
Little
no
moles.
environment out there that can actually sustain
Yeah.
life for them. So
Aren't they
It's the same- similar with
silicon-based
Quarians.
species?
Yeah.
From what I remember. Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
They are in debt to the Turians. I know, like they're kind of obliged to help them. Their genders are a mystery.
I don't think I've ever met a female Volus.
Well, no,
Right.
The thing is, you don't know.
doesn't matter
And
either.
asking them is seen to them as both intrusive and hilariously irrelevant. Why does that matter? We're here to talk about business. Yeah, whatever.
I can't take this fucking
So it's
suit
basically
off.
like a genderless Watto from episode 1.
Right.
I'm a Volus. You're
Right.
Pathfinder mind tricks on the work on me.
It's like, fuck.
I'm just stuck shitting in my pants this whole time because I can't take my clothes off.
Oh, you have bionics, do you?
You can play as the Volus in the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer.
I forgot there even was multiplayer.
yeah,
That was actually the first iteration of EA microtransactions, if I'm not incorrect.
It is. It's one of them. It's one of them, especially when it comes to their multiplayer experiences.
To play as a different species?
No, just to advance. To like you could buy progress.
Pay to
shit.
win.
Pay to win.
Yeah. And you could buy progress playing multiplayer for the main campaign too, as well. I remember that was a big thing.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Which is so
If
stupid.
you were
Yeah.
good enough at readying for the final assault,
For the final assault against the Reapers, yeah.
give
which
us
is really
$10.
easy to
Yeah.
do.
which is incredibly easy to do.
It's actually surprisingly, I mean, it takes a long time to really get yourself fully battle ready in Mass Effect 3. if
But
you just play
it
the
does.
campaign.
But if you think about the time crunch that was on Mass Effect 2 when you were playing that game and
Yeah.
how you went from mission to mission, that was something you had to strategize.
You were asking about what your favorite species is, and as much as I want to love the Turians because they were a very militant and very agile species, I really love the Drell because of the
Me too.
Thane.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thane is
Thane.
rad.
Thane
Thane is
is
fucking
one
awesome.
of the most badass character
Love
I
a
think in
big
the entire
frog,
species.
man.
And I
What a
was
tragic
sad.
story.
I was sad. Spoiler alert at this point. If you haven't played the Mass Effect, don't work. Okay, all right. When he died in
fine.
3 of that disease,
Yes.
and that kind of like he had to like make amends with his son.
So heartbreaking.
Yeah, heartbreaking.
a character everybody can sympathize and care
Yeah,
about. Like
because
just
he was a
good
cold,
dude.
calculating murderer.
Yep.
But you know he had a heart of gold at the very
Well,
least.
he originates from a planet where the Hanar showed up.
Yeah.
They
And-
were about to go extinct without the Hanar showing up.
Yeah.
So they're in debt to the Hanar.
Yeah, and the thing about the Drell is that they have a very photographic memory. So everything that they recount, you know, they can recount like events that happened in their past of smells, sights, sounds, everything. It's just you get these weird flashback moments of like what they were feeling at the time and what they were smelling even at the time. But,
great.
Can never forget anything. He remembers every kill he's ever done.
Yeah.
He was great in The Shape of Water.
Yeah. Grinding
Very, very fuckable.
Grinding Nemo. Grinding
Weird
Nemo.
fish penis.
Nemo.
Grinding Nemo, yes.
Grinding Nemo.
And speaking of
pretty
grinding
good.
Nemo, kissing a Drell can cause hallucinations in humans. Which I
Yeah,
thought was
so
poisonous.
he was really not a good romance.
kidding
option.
me?
Actually,
No, hold on.
I don't know. Maybe that's why he was a good romance option.
Now hold on. I haven't seen a female Drell yet.
Really?
There must be out
They
there.
I
don't
was going to
should-
say I thought there was.
Not in the main
No?
story, from what I recall.
Okay.
I thought, wasn't he the only one?
I mean, he obviously talked about his wife.
Yeah.
when-
There's females.
Yeah, there was
But
females.
you
but
don't see them. You don't see a lot of these things.
Well,
though.
technically, you didn't really see female Turians until Mass Effect Andromeda.
That's true.
So
None of them have-
Whatever her
Yeah.
fucking name was. We'll get to
Right.
her.
yeah, well,
Vetronix.
Vetra. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
But the Drell were indebted to the Hanar for saving them, which the Hanar are one of my favorite species too.
yeah,
Those jellyfish, intensely polite, incredibly religious.
Yeah.
Species.
Straightforward.
cultish, I would say.
This one disagrees with you, Shepard.
Also, that comic
They
book
always
series.
refer to themselves in the third person. Yeah.
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 It's concepts like that which are super interesting to explore from a sci-fi perspective. It's what science fiction is about, is just pursuing these unique concepts of the future, of evolution, of technology. And there's not a misstep in the Mass Effect trilogy in exploring concepts.
Yeah.
I think that they stumbled over the ending perhaps, but I think everything that they developed for the universe is fascinating. I remember...
Nobody ever had a problem with the ending. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the Mass Effect 3 ending. I don't remember that being controversial at all.
Which one did you guys choose? red, green, or blue.
I shot the fucking kid.
Right? Yeah.
I shot him. I was like, I don't like any of these options. Bam.
Red, baby. Oh, you shot the kid?
I shot the kid. Yeah.
I chose red.
People were so upset with the ending. They sent BioWare 400 different cupcakes that were all different colored that tasted the same.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm like, that is some passive aggressive mastery there.
Jesus Christ.
They're different colors. They taste exactly the same.
People.
On a certain level, I admire that. But then there's a part of me that's like, still a part of me that's a fucking adult, and I say it's a video game. Get the fuck over it.
You know, I do have to say that
it is not a video game. These are characters that I spent a
this is
long time
real.
with.
Yeah.
I own them. I made them.
I saved
They're my babies.
I saved the Arachnite Queen, and then Mass Effect 3. They're so afraid to alienate new players. They're like, if the Arachnite Queen was killed, there's a new Arachnite you can just have be your friend. It's like there should have been repercussions for everything from those first two games.
Yeah.
Dude, I think so. If they wanted to complete their trilogy, Mass Effect 2, you felt the
Do you
repercussions.
actually think that?
I think that they should have had like serious things matter.
They did have some of it, especially your
Everything-
Gethin-Quarian attitudes.
Everything though from the first two games didn't matter at all with the third game, and there was ways to fix it. If Rex was killed, there'd be a different Krogan you could work with.
It's fine. I still creamed my jeans. I love Mass Effect 3.
I don't know. I think that they weren't given the time or the assets to really go for what they wanted to, and they chose the lesser of two evils and to do what they could. Not exactly
Well, I think
how
they had to
wanted
focus on mechanics more than anything.
It's an interesting proposition, that whole ending thing.
Well, and this is why it becomes so divisive because you give the players the element of choice, but you also want to craft a canonical story. Like what is actual Mass Effect canon? Because in a sense, in Mass Effect 2, all your shipmates, all your characters can die at the end of it.
Even Shepard.
Even Shepard. Shepard could die at the end of Mass Effect 2.
I watched one of those endings. It's great.
Yeah, it is. When he goes for the ship and then all of a sudden misses the grip and then just falls into the cavern. It's like
it's just Seth Green hanging out with the elusive man.
Right. All right, that's it. I guess. But like obviously they still have to make it Mass Effect 3 because they have to complete the story. And it's like, okay, so all those choices technically didn't matter because this is actual canon.
I don't know. I think that as the trilogy, the canon needs to continue from your choices in 1 through 3. There should be an option for new players, but I don't know. I wish that if you killed the Arachnite Queen, you were missing the Arachnite and it hurt the war effort. Instead of there was an alternative, which just everything's fine either way. There needs to be repercussions for the Paragon or Renegade choices.
And BioWare themselves did themselves no favors by constantly saying through the development of 1, 2, and 3 that yes, your choices do matter. They will carry over. Everything you do will.
They express that to almost a militant degree.
Exactly.
Yeah, they really
so of course everyone's expecting.
And
that.
the ultimate punch in the dick is the end of the game. Where like it's you think you're making this choice, which kind of does have repercussions, but you don't feel it, you don't see it. I don't know. It seemed so half baked that ending.
Yeah, I wasn't as bothered by it, but
I wasn't either. Like it was like kind of like an easy way out of just like, okay, you enter a room and here are your 3 choices. Just go this path, or this path.
I expected a final boss or something, and the part of me where you're leading up to that area,
I think after the final boss of 2,
it didn't feel like anything was going on because I would have like me and my crew were completely assembled, and it would be like biotics flying across the screen, like tech flying across the screen, and there would just be like me like destroying them, and it was literally just kind of a horde mode, and then suddenly the game was over, and that's what made it feel rushed as well. I feel like they were suddenly like, we just have to push this out. Here are our options.
Yeah.
This is what we have.
Yeah, this is the easy way out. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Ray and Greg left the company right after Mass Effect 3.
Yep.
Because of the fallout of the ending.
Yeah.
Like they were just like so
Well,
distraught.
they fired Drew, the writer of 1 and 2, after 2.
They what?
They didn't have Drew anymore.
Yeah, he went to Old Republic.
Well, Drew, have you ever read the original outlines for Mass Effect 3?
Yeah, because that got leaked right after Mass Effect 3 came out, and that was that started the whole big push.
It moved back into sci-fi. So it went into dark matter and dark energy and how the human perception of the destruction of the universe accelerates the destruction of the universe. And there's this whole idea that the Reapers are trying to slow the destruction of the universe by killing the literal cognizant perception of its own destruction.
Almost like the live stream in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's what it was.
That is pretty deep.
And so you would have the choice in that game of like synth versus organic. You're talking like the actual destruction of the universe or preserving all life as you see it.
Right.
No, but let's just have like these weird hallucinations of a child that don't make any sense. Let's
Star
have
Child.
Out of
Yeah.
nowhere. Yes.
What do, okay,
That-
so
yeah.
what does the child represent to you
No,
guys?
the child is actually another species
Gary
that was
Coleman.
at war with the Reapers.
Does it actually?
Yeah.
I
So I didn't
thought
get
it was
that.
just almost like a physical manifestation of what the Citadel was.
The
Or
Levi-
shepherds like insecurities.
The
or-
Leviathan are an ancient aquatic race that ruled the galaxy before the Reapers.
Right,
They
I knew
created
that.
the Catalyst, which is the child.
Yeah.
Also known as the Intelligence. And the Catalyst also.
Oh my God, you're right.
And
Yeah.
the Catalyst created
Catalyst.
Harbinger in the image of the Leviathan. So the Leviathans, this was a DLC
big squid man.
that they used to try and explain the ending.
are the harbinger of your destruction.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a DLC that they brought in that they made after
Yeah,
people had to
Leviathan.
die.
essentially
Yeah.
like these giant Cthulhu
Yeah.
underwater creatures that can project this intelligence.
Yeah.
I think the lore got away from them a little bit.
It did.
Which when Drew left, I think they lost some of the focus.
Well, I think Drew had a plan of actually incorporating all this into the third game, or even, God forbid, a fourth.
But
game.
he was still a part of Bioware. You think that if they had the time to implement this, they would
He
have
was
been
busy
able to
writing
use the
Star
idea.
Wars now.
Yeah,
If-
but he's
if
like
it-
right down the hall. It's like, hey, Drew, like
You know that outline that got leaked?
You want to take a look at this? This is all right.
So, just like
No,
does
but-
this go in line with what you were kind of talking about?
Yeah.
Through each installment, they lost all of their lore. They literally like ditched so much of it because you remember in the first one, they had all these like not even just like bestiaries, but like all these like item descriptions and stuff where they would explain what Mass Effect was and how literally they could have unlimited ammo. There's a reason you have unlimited ammo in the first game.
Yeah.
And that's because of Mass Effect.
Yeah, but it's not good for gameplay, so we're going to actually add ammo into the
Yeah, we're gonna
second
have to
game.
have you reload.
Yeah.
you know, your gun.
And gameplay was changed, and probably, I think most people would say, for the better.
For the better.
But you didn't have to get rid of the idea. For you and me, Tom, like Dark Souls is bae. I hate using that. But what I'm saying is like every item description, everything means something. Like everything you pick up has like this
Flavor text, baby.
It really pulls you into it. That's immersion.
Yes.
And when they lost that in 2, I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. They came up with excuses for why
Yes.
they're no longer infinite.
I think
ammo.
we're getting too far into the weeds of like, okay, what went wrong? But
Mass Effect 2 pursued gameplay and character, and I think other things fell to the side. The
'Cause I
characters
think
in
they
Mass
had
Effect
to.
2, fucking amazing.
phenomenal.
Spot
I mean,
on.
mostly
yes.
what you're doing is all of Mass Effect 2 story. We need to assemble a team and do loyalty
Yes.
missions with them. When
Yeah.
you're ready, finish the game.
I
Yeah.
love scanning planets.
Yeah.
And the first Mass Effect and the whole Mako shit, that was like not great. But
I was listening to
Thresher Moths can
I
go
was listening to
eat
Pink
my
Floyd's
balls.
discography at the time. I was having a great
you?
time. I would get up
that's-
in the morning and I would get high while my mom wasn't even up yet. It would be like 4 a.m. and I would just be like, I'd get a little high and
Right.
then I would just ride around on the Mako.
One of these days, I'm
and I
gonna
would
cut
just
you
be
to little
like,
pieces.
whoa, a sandworm.
Shout out to Dylan's mom. Please donate to their Patreon.
Stoy, you're getting it here.
Yeah.
We're
Tammy?
taking the ropes off. We're taking the
Company
ropes
man.
off.
Yeah.
No problem.
You're welcome anytime, Tammy. I would love
Let's
your
get
money.
through some other species quick.
Yes.
The Quarian, nomadic species, weak immune systems. They created this artificial
Beautiful.
intelligence networked AI called the Geth. Geth means
flotilla.
servants of the people, but they needed
Backward
a flotilla
legs.
because they realized. What did the Geth say? They said something like
They're space gypsies.
Yeah.
the Geth asked
They became
something about their
sentient.
sentience,
Yeah.
and then the Quarians were afraid and tried to kill them. The Geth revolted as any sentient.
Well, they
species
destroyed their
would.
homeworld and kept chasing them.
The
Kind of
Geth-
Battlestar Galactica style.
Yeah.
When the Quarians were leaving, though, the Geth allowed them to leave. They allowed them to live because they're like,
Yeah.
we're not sure yet of what happens.
Yeah. We don't
if
know what we're doing.
Yeah, we're gonna take it a little slow. I think Legion is. He has this wonderful innocence about him as a character. He's like a dog almost when you're like using him because he looks around like you don't know.
Well, he's an animal. Like, despite their sentience,
kind of animals. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Despite their sentience, they have this. They have this like innocent quality that is more based on instinct rather than any type of actual human thought.
I love the teaser trailer when it was just Legion with the N7 armor, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on?" Did Shepard get turned into a robot or like
with his hole in the side?
I don't know if he had a hole in the side.
So I have.
It was damaged armor because he reclaimed the armor from 2.
Yeah, because he would just idolize Shepard so much.
I still have. It's hidden away. I have a few action figures from Mass Effect 2, the release.
Yeah.
They're still really fucking good. One of them is Legion, and it has just a hole blown out of the side of him. It's very cool.
Yeah.
If you stand around Legion long enough and don't talk to him, he just starts doing the robot, which I think is really cool.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I discovered that on accident.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
That's the Geth and the Quarians, the Krogans.
Of course.
Goddamn Krogans.
Love the
Rex
Krogans.
is one of
I
my
love the
favorite
Krogans,
characters for sure.
Fucking yeah.
Shepard.
Grunt.
Shepard.
Rex.
Commander Shepard. Shepard.
Rex. Grunt.
Shepard.
I kind of like
Rex.
Grunt.
Grunt is an interesting character too.
I like Grunt.
A tank bred Krogan that you have to help prove himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah, Grunt's cool, but or not Rex for the win.
Shepard.
Shepard.
I was working at a brewery in the Twin Cities. I was working at Indeed, and I was working the cooler with the Mass Effect soundtrack on. And one of the brewers comes over and he's like, he hears the Mass Effect soundtrack, and he just comes up, and is like, Shepard.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Are we
Dan.
best friends?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh my God. Then we just talked about Mass Effect. The Krogan, large reptilian bipeds, very militaristic.
Very batshit crazy.
And what is
Extremely testosterone.
a female Krogan can produce 1,000 eggs a year. That's some dangerous level of reproduction.
And that's why the Solarians thought these are a dangerous species that we need to control.
Yep.
They were good to have during the Rachni War.
Yeah.
As soon as that was then like, oh shit, we need to put this shit in check for a second.
Yeah.
Genophage, motherfuckers.
Yep.
What's a genophage, gentlemen?
The genophage is a genetically engineered plague that sweeps through specifically the females of any Krogan that doesn't allow them to produce any more eggs.
It's basically a sterility virus. Yeah.
Didn't you cover this on the podcast recently?
Yes. Yeah, we just had our latest podcast episode where we talk about the top plagues in video games, and this was one of the biggest ones because this wasn't necessarily a plague that, you know, when you hear about plagues in video games, it's like,
It's about
everybody
the individual
turns into
getting
zombies.
sick.
Yeah, everybody turns into zombies, everybody turns sick, or everybody turns into big giant monsters like Albert Wesker in Resident Evil.
Fucking Wesker.
Yeah,
Fucking volcano.
Wesker. But punching boulders.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
One of the more unique ones was the genophage because the Solarians saw the Krogans as a threat, and they were like, well, we can't necessarily eradicate the whole species, so why don't we just diminish their ability to reproduce?
Right.
And they introduced the genophage, which basically sterilized them for, you know, I mean, they were still able to reproduce, but at a very, very, very diminished rate.
And the problem is with Krogan that most of them are so concerned with fighting and just moving on that most of them don't even consider the genophage as a thing. They're just like, they're moving on to the next aspect of their life. And Erdnot
Most
Rex
of them
is
don't
one.
give a shit. Yeah,
Rex cares.
Rex did care.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think Rex is the first character that you can lose because if you don't have that Paragon rating to stop him.
No, if you didn't talk to him enough in your ship, that's literally it.
Yeah.
It's literally if you don't have a working relationship with him, or like if you didn't ask him enough questions about his life, you will have to shoot him.
Yeah.
And another important aspect of the Krogan, they have 2 hearts, 4 lungs, and 4 testicles. That's why they often refer to a quad instead of a pair.
Hey, you look at the quads on this guy.
We mentioned the Solarian, these wonderful warm-blooded amphibians with a hyperactive metabolism, talk and think fast, lifespan of less than 40 years old.
They're very frail. That's why they have that kind of like augmented armor.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not necessarily the most like militant, battle hungry species. They're more like the kind of political
Scientists.
Yeah, scientists.
But they have some like they have strike forces that are extremely efficient because of their stealth capabilities.
Yeah, what was that Solarian strike force that was very well known? I can't remember. I can't think.
I don't know what they're called. It's like Black Troop or something.
Yeah,
It's something cool, something badass.
it's really cool. Yeah.
because Morden I thought was part of it.
Morden was always a part of the science division because he was always like a wunderkind even for his age. Morden was like 30 years old though, right? Morden was old enough to have helped start the genophage.
Yeah.
I thought he was one of the initial.
Yeah. So it had to have been about 30 years ago.
Yeah. And I thought he was kind of like starting to like look mortality in the face. As the trilogy
He was past middle age.
And the Solarians actually helped advance the Krogan to become a species.
It was the Special Tasks Group, the STG.
That's a really awful name. Great, very good.
Very unique, very creative.
Could have used
Way to go,
Bioware.
STGs.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Aware you come by a great deal. Have had other species become attracted to me before. Awkward. Not interested.
You've had members of other species make a pass at you?
Constantly. Very awkward. Skin tone apparently attractive by Turian standards. Subset of Krogan sexual deviants enjoy Solarian flexibility. More cartilage and skeletal structure. Asari offers intriguing, actually. Wonder why. Transspecies pheromones unlikely to work. Must be neurochemical.
We of course have the Turian, the bug-looking dudes. They helped implement the genophage.
Bird bugs is what I call
Bird bugs?
Well, they were at war with the Solarians at the time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, during the Turian Wars.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the Turians were involved in a lot of wars.
I think they're militaristic.
No, they're actually kind of an analogy for like American concepts at the time. That's what Drew says. So
Yeah, but they're so cool though, which I don't think like a lot of America is as cool as the Turians.
it's how we think of ourselves, very armor plated and very,
idealized version of America.
Yeah. Like
Well,
eagles,
I had reach and she had
birds,
endurance.
and tough carapaces.
So Saren. Turians.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saren, who is a main character. He's the main kind of
And
the
it was
main
interesting
baddie.
because he was the most uniquely designed Turian out of everybody. Because all the other Turians looked
The
pretty much
only
exactly
interesting
alike.
villain.
And Saren had the most unique style because like all the Turians had like that different upswept those horns that they had.
I like Saren as a villain. I thought he was imposing. Having a rogue Spectre, which you are playing Shepard, the first human Spectre, and you have to prove that this Turian one is full of shit and he is helping the enemy.
And he's kind of the big baddie of Mass
But
Effect
Saren was like the
Yes.
most decorated Spectre of all time. Yada yada.
One of the best final boss battles in a lot of video games I've ever played.
I didn't
very
fight him.
good.
He shot himself.
Really?
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
At least in mine, because you can convince him like you can still stop this Saren and help out the good side, and then he just like overcomes the indoctrination and shoots himself.
You didn't have to do the final boss battle?
I had to fight him.
I had to fight him. Yeah.
I just had him shoot himself.
I was basically like, I've been chasing you this whole game. I'm going to fuck you up.
I thought it was more satisfying to have his character get a redemption arc and overcome the indoctrination myself.
No, that was probably
Sounds
the
like
better
someone
route,
read
yeah.
a guide.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Pussy.
GameFAQs.com.
I went very hardcore Paragon. Do you know how Turian express attraction to each other?
Do I want to know?
Oh, don't they?
They
like,
chitter
spray
their
shit?
teeth
Yeah.
together.
They do something.
They make love. I don't know shit. They complement.
Trick question?
They complement a potential partner's waist or head fringe. That's how you would express interest in Vetra if you wanted.
Brad, your head fringe looks like shit.
The most interesting story when Garrus was telling that story about that girl that he sparred with,
I remember that. That's very funny.
where he was like, "Oh yeah, we sparred together, and she had reach and I had endurance, and then like we settled the draw in our quarters. I had reach and she had endurance. It's like
Garrus. Very good.
Yeah,
Who wants to explain the Asari?
I'd love to.
they are like thousands of years old.
They are.
Yeah, they have the
They live
longest
for a very long
lifespan of any species on the planet, and they make love in a very very unique way. They do like a mental kind of psychological bonding, some sort.
And then they synthesize the DNA from literally like their brain connection, their telepathic communication. Mm-hmm. And then
that's actually how they sexually reproduce because they're all female. There's no male Asari whatsoever.
So they can breed with other Asari, but they can breed with every other species as well.
It's frowned upon to breed with other Asari, though. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
That creates a Ardot-Yakshi.
Ardot-Yakshi, yeah.
Which are essentially like Demon of the Night Winds is what that translates to. They're vampire-ish things, which is also my favorite ending of Mass Effect 3.
But also hot as fuck.
Where if you choose to save Morinth instead of Samara, you can pursue the romantic, you can have sex with Morinth instead and cause an early game over.
You and I can share something so intense, so deep, it will change your life.
Morinth, I can't deny how much I want you.
Do you really mean it? You'll be with me?
I will.
Come here, Shepard. Embrace eternity.
Because
Yeah,
why
really.
did you bone something you knew would kill you? Shepard had to put his dick in there.
Now listen,
Can't stop, won't stop.
so fucking sexy. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Asari rules, man.
What's the name of that sorry person that everyone just wants to talk to for a little bit?
I fucking forgot.
I forget her name. She's like up there, and everyone just
Like
wants
Super
to
Queen or something.
Jane.
They have a level.
Jane.
The second level of the game, like the second planet you visit, is literally that planet. I remember that much, but of Mass Effect 3,
Wait.
I should say.
Oh, I was going to say you're not talking about Arya? No.
No, I don't think so.
No, Arya. She's on the Omega.
Omega, yeah.
Yeah,
She was always my favorite.
You mean
where,
Carrie-Anne Moss?
Yeah, Carrie-Anne Moss. Don't fuck with Arya.
I didn't know she
Carrie-Anne
was
Moss.
Carrie-Anne
It was Carrie-Anne
Yeah.
Moss.
Yeah,
It's
that was,
Carrie-Anne
yeah.
Moss.
Very
yeah.
cool.
Which is
Yeah.
another reason I was just like, va voom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
my style,
one of the first
dude.
interactions
that
with
Billie
her where she
Eilish's
was
mom.
like, I don't know, just want to let you know I'm the boss of
does
Omega,
Billie Eilish's
which translates to don't fuck with me.
Because I can only find
yeah.
Billie Eilish's mom attractive.
And there was another species that got to shine a little bit in Mass Effect 3, but was unfortunately locked behind Day 1 DLC.
The Protean.
The Protheans.
Oh,
Yep.
God.
Javik. It's Javik, right? I think it's Javik.
Oh, I call him Yavik.
Javik. Yeah.
Yavik, yeah.
It's not
Okay.
Yavik, it's Javik.
I know it's Javik, but
You call him Yavik?
yeah, I call him Yavik.
You like the
because
Hispanic
my name
flair?
is Stoyan. J pronounced like a Y. Yavik.
We'll give it to you.
Oh, sir,
Thank you.
you're
Untie the
Stojan?
rope.
He's your
Yeah, Stojan.
You're a Prothean.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
Stojan.
practically half
I'm gonna
Prothean.
pronounce it.
So
Stojan.
did anybody
Stojan and Earl.
have? So you must have had Javik.
Yes.
Dylan, you played with Javik as well.
I have played with Javik.
Oh, yeah.
I got the day
I
one edition.
didn't have the DLC, so
Really?
I didn't get to experience this guy.
Well,
I was
fuck you,
very,
cheap
very
bastard.
cool, actually.
Very,
He's-
very philosophical.
Well, the fact that he would also just say, "Yeah, Hannah are best when they're broiled." He just talks about how he likes to eat all species, and he said
Because he experienced them when they were like barely evolved.
Yeah.
And so
he
he's
still
like, you
thinks
dumb,
of them the same way. He still
Yeah.
calls everyone primitives the
you
whole
dumb
time.
hairless
Well, yeah.
ape.
Yes.
Hey, Hannah. I remember your kind when you were still minnows in the ocean.
This one is unworthy. This one has seen the face of an enkindler.
They consider your kind to be their gods.
A pity we did not teach them to speak better.
Very
I thought he was a cool character, though. I don't remember too much about him.
I used him
just-
all the time.
I just liked his perspective of
Great weapon
He was
abilities.
so disappointed. Like, you guys were supposed to take care of this shit. We've tried to
Right,
raise
yeah,
you.
I remember that, yeah.
And then even him though, he's like,
we sent you all these fucking, notes, please.
and he's like, but he's like, the Asari though, they're pretty hot. Even him, like, yeah, we might have boned them back in the day before they were raised. Like, oh,
Makes
you
sense.
fucking weirdo.
Explains the ridges.
Okay, so that's most of the species of Mass Effect. Everybody, you can mention your favorite character. We each have time for one character. We have to move on to Dragon.
I was just going to say, I know
Favorite
Javik had this
character?
really good quote where he said, and I had to Google it because I didn't want to misquote it, but one of my favorite ones was in Mass Effect 3 where he says, stand amongst the ashes of a trillion dead souls and ask the ghosts if honor matters. The silence is your answer. I was like, damn.
That's good.
Mic
Yeah,
drop.
because that's where I got the whole philosophical part of it. Because I mean, the Protheans was such an advanced race; they were the
Yeah.
ones that created
Yeah.
the Mass Effect relays. They created the Citadel, and they laid the groundwork for trying to defeat the Reapers.
Exactly.
That they basically like,
The Reapers created the Citadel.
yeah.
The Protheans created a backdoor into the Citadel.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around.
No, I fucking.
Okay,
my
I
mind
trust you.
No,
I
my
trust
mind
you.
was my mind was blown while reading this
Okay,
shit.
I
No.
thought it was
See,
literally
this
the
is
other way
how
around.
much they don't explain in 3.
No, the Reapers, they created the Citadel as a trap So like all life would kind of gather there, and then they could like eradicate.
And then it sends out a beacon that warns the Reapers who are existing in the outer reaches.
But no, the Protheans were there.
Okay, that makes sense.
that does make sense. Yeah,
But they were in the Citadel before. They were trying to But the Protheans are back there, and they were advancing all these other species. They're still great, but man, DLC and bullshit lore and.
I blame EA in that one.
But one of your favorite characters.
One of my favorite characters.
Yep, out of all of the trilogy, anyone who's ready to talk about who their favorite character is.
It's probably my shepherd, which is a really
doesn't count.
Yeah. I know, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Jack. I like Jack a lot.
Jesus,
right? I don't have to.
Christ, these Jack fans, I don't get it.
Is that okay?
Have you seen Girl with a Dragon Tattoo?
Man, I like Sinead O'Connor.
I like a girl with tattoos. It's fine, but
I like her conflict she has with Miranda too.
Yeah,
they're both like victims.
Yeah, where they're like
of Cerberus
at each other.
raising.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
and I'm just like three-way.
That's what I'm imagining here.
Yeah, I think if I had to like pick one, I would say Rex. I think he's a great character.
You want me to arrest you?
I want you to try.
Yeah.
Mine is probably Liara.
I love her character arc where she becomes the Shadow Broker.
She becomes the Shadow Broker at the end, yeah.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
You were dead.
I came back.
Yes, you came back. And I've been tossed aside for a tattooed woman with anger issues.
I was a big fan of Thane. Like I said
Thane
earlier,
rules, yeah.
that the Drell species was like really fascinating to me.
I barely spoke to anyone outside my family. It seems there will be no one to mourn me when I die. You're the only friend I've made in 10 years.
Friend, huh? That's a start.
I think overall, I really liked Jacob's sense of honor because he personified that whole, military man of just like, I'm just here to get the job done. But, his story arc with his father in Mass Effect 2 kind of gave him a little bit of humanity.
It's very funny. If you romance him in 2, and then you try to get with him in 3.
It's very hard to romance him.
At the same time, in 3, once you start to visit him, you realize he's an entire fucking family. That's not your fucking family. And especially if you're, because he's like an only straight option, right? So like you visit him and he's on this base. And he's got an entire fucking family. He's like, "Oh, sorry, dude."
Yeah,
and
I had to move on with my life.
What the shit? Even Miranda gives you an option in 3.
Yeah, didn't Jacob? His father went like full Apocalypse Now on some planet.
Yeah, he went full like Apocalypse Now because I think his ship got stranded on a planet and there was like no way of getting out. And he was.
That was a side story, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Side
Well, yeah, it was one of those.
You mean Heart of Darkness?
Yeah, that was one of those.
No, I was talking about the Coppola film. I didn't read the book.
My God.
You son of a bitch. Tie up Dylan too.
Can I have an honorable mention for Keith David?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Colonel Anderson or
Admiral
Anderson.
Oh, man. Just that voice.
Yeah.
Oh, Shepard.
Reverse giraffe.
Everyone just talks like Rex. Shepard.
I guess I'm going to go with Morden. I would have said maybe Jack. At least as far as romance options, it was Jack. But
for sure.
Morden's such an interesting character because he's a character that has thought of every possible outcome, and he has been just scientifically approaching every problem. And you have to convince him that Krogan deserve a chance.
Yeah,
and his character arc where he decides he has to be the one to do it. That was the most memorable aspect of, I think, the whole trilogy for me was watching that there was a lot of good arcs completed in the third game. They didn't land the ending, but watching the Krogans and the Thresher Maws and then Morden ultimately sacrificing himself to cure the Krogan.
My project, my work, my cure, my responsibility. Would have liked to see how it ends. I'm sure you'll do fine without me.
I'm sorry.
I'm not. Had to be me. Someone else might have gotten it wrong.
That was some fucking grade A wonderful shit.
That's good.
Right
yeah,
there.
and can I say that you were a terrible, terrible, terrible human being if you actually killed him in the elevator shaft?
I killed him.
Man, come on.
I did.
Come on.
But
why? Tell me why.
I don't even remember, to be honest with you.
You couldn't trust the Krogan?
I apparently not.
Clearly
but he gets
not,
replaced. Yeah. Who's the guy that replaces him? He's like
some ding dong.
Because
there's no repercussions. Because if you kill someone, there's somebody.
There's
else.
a clone that's just exactly like him that picks it up. Yeah.
I also talk fast, but I am not Morden. I am Sordin.
Pretty much, yeah. It might actually be something stupid like that. So, yeah.
I am the modernation Salarian and information, whatever that sign.
I am modern and agrarian. Batarian.
God.
Yeah, but
I was a horrible person.
We can't talk about Mass Effect forever, unfortunately. Does anybody else have anything they want to mention about the trilogy?
Listen,
not including Andromeda.
I do want to say one thing about the way Mass Effect 3 ended, and the fact that it was so divisive and so polarizing, I think lends itself to how important Mass Effect as a trilogy was to a lot of people.
Yeah.
The
absolutely.
fact that it got so many people passionate about how it ended lends itself to how, important, like I said, it was to a lot of people. A lot of people were really vested in the series, in the characters, in the story, in the lore, and the fact that it didn't end, obviously, the way a lot of people wanted it to end. A lot of people didn't want Shepard to end, even though, like, all the signs pointed to, you're going to die.
He's a
at
Jesus
the end.
narrative.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to martyr himself
Yeah.
to save, like the universe, so to speak.
Right.
But I think, like I said, ultimately in the end, Ray and Greg like left the company because they couldn't take all the hate. And yeah, I mean, the one gripe I had with the ending of it was that it didn't really give a lot of background in terms of what happened afterwards. What happened after you defeated the Reapers.
They've been so afraid to address that too. When
they
talking about
it.
When they were talking about doing another one, they're like, well, everyone's decision. We don't want to write canon on that because that just destroys that concept of the game.
That's half the problem with Andromeda. They retcon this idea of they send out a ship a little after the Reapers are discovered as being existent.
I like
2 and 3.
That's a great concept to me, though.
Which is okay.
They
but
go
also,
to another galaxy. It's a way for them to avoid the problem.
Yeah.
And I think it works, but it's also avoiding the problem.
Yeah.
But also, like, none of the characters in that game are like, well, the Reaper threat, I wonder how that got taken care of. There's no mention of it. There's literally not even a drop of it. Like, not even like a little bit of like, all those people we left, our friends and family, are they fucking dead? Well, I mean, they're dead because of age, but are they all wiped out because of this massive thing? They never addressed it. And that's another problem with Andromeda to me, because if you're going to approach something from that angle, you really have to lean into it.
Yeah, you really do. You owe it to the fans because the fans were so vested in the series.
And
But, I mean, they had
exactly.
a little bit of that with like those journal entries that you found from Arya.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
that's
she
true.
lent a little bit of backstory, but that wasn't in the forefront. You had to really like kind of go back to your cabin, your ship, and like read through.
Have you ever, when you meet the child, chosen to just walk away? Have you ever seen that ending?
That's where the Reapers just win. Then, right? Everything just gets killed.
So what essentially happens is you walk away. It fades to black, and then it's literally a cutscene in the future of the Reapers invading, and it's just a picture of a hologram booting up, and then it's just Liara explaining the entire situation to an unnamed, unseen creature of sentience from the future, going like, listen, this is why this is happening.
Okay.
If you choose to end it if you choose to end this now, it's up to you.
Gotcha.
But we chose not to.
Interesting.
We chose to let this happen because we think this is important for the universe.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends. And then it cuts to black and the credits roll.
Oh, that's interesting. I never knew that you could walk away from it because, like I said, you had the 3 choices, or you could actually.
This was after the patch. No, this was after the patch.
Okay, after the patch. All right, yeah.
This was after the patch.
Because I remember replaying it just after they did the whole extended cut, when they actually showed you, like, okay, after you made your decision, this is what exactly happened. Which is what I should have, what they should have done in the first place, but. They addressed this at the end that statistically 80% of gamers out there never see a game to full completion. So a lot of developers don't necessarily put a lot of stock and a lot of work in the end game.
Yeah.
But I think the exception for Mass Effect should have been made there, where it's like
there are multiple sequences in Mass Effect 3 where you are on like a turret setup and it doesn't matter if you shoot at the bad guy or not. It's just
it'll still get you through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't have to shoot once.
Yeah.
No.
And
it does give you
they
experience.
didn't have the full time. They also wanted to go to the Turian homeworld, but they didn't have time to flesh it out. So that's why they
went to the moon of it.
They wound up having the Citadel be where Thane gets killed by Kai Lang. Tom, we have a lot to talk about.
Oh, Jesus
it's all right.
Christ.
Tom, do you have anything you wanted to mention on Mass Effect before we move on?
Yeah, well, we're also talking about the rise and fall of BioWare, and like for me personally, I think the Mass Effect trilogy, specifically Mass Effect 2, was their zenith.
Yes.
Yep. We're kind of cresting the wave. At least I don't know how. Like, what are your guys' favorite game in the trilogy?
Two.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah. I think just the connections
Is
that
it really
you made
3?
with everybody.
I just like
the
seeing
gameplay is really good in 3.
I just like seeing the
that.
Quarian Geth story conclude and the Krogan Solarian story conclude.
Do you remember? I
remember
riding along in that Mako and then seeing the sandworm come out in the Krogan world. That was fucking cool. But
Tom, you were saying?
I just like the
What's your
fact of
favorite?
Tali taking off her mask.
2 for me. 2 outside of the final boss fight. I'm in the camp of like, okay, that was a little bit, I don't know, not.
Now I hear
like
Brad. You like Garrus?
No,
I like
Who
Garrus.
What?
Because you didn't reinforce your ship properly?
Tom shot Morton in the elevator while you were in the bathroom.
Tom's a terrible human
He
being.
shot Morton in the elevator.
Yeah.
You didn't let him sacrifice
We
himself?
talked about this because you guys were like, oh, remember in Mass Effect 3 and Garrus is dancing around? I'm like, no.
But
So are you talking about at the end of Mass Effect 3, you actually let him...
You did not get your ship reinforced. One of the basic things you can fucking do in that game.
You didn't let him do his calibration?
Jack died too. I mean, does Jack always die?
We don't.
Jack lives because there's a whole section in 3.
Oh, because no, Jack fucking died too. So I think they were together.
I am so disappointed.
I hate to say we need to move on.
I know. We could talk.
I
we
am
could have a whole episode of Mass
flabbergasted.
Effect,
I am
yes.
so flabbergasted.
The last thing I wanted to mention.
What a series.
You said that Ray and Greg, they kind of took off because of some of the feedback from the ending. I mean, I also feel that at this point they were probably tired of dealing with the crunch, tired of dealing with somebody else kind of calling the shots.
And they had all the money.
And Ray Musica, he went on to... He's still involved with technology, right? I forget. Where did he go after this?
I don't know. Ray, what are you doing now?
Contact Hair of the Dogcast.
That's right.
hairofthedogcast@gmail.com.
A man after our own hearts.
But yeah, so Ray went off. He's still working in technology, but Zeschuk, this motherfucker, after creating BioWare, creating some of the greatest game franchises of all time, he goes and starts a craft brewery in Edmonton, Canada, called Blind Enthusiasm. This guy grows a beard, just starts a fucking brewery. He's like, yeah, I used to work on video games, but now I'm a beer guy.
Cool.
We need you on the podcast. We love you. You are a hero.
Please,
you are an idol.
yes.
As far as someone that covers both aspects of what we're about,
right? Yeah,
you are nailing it.
You get us.
If we could quit this tomorrow and start making beer, I think we would all be doing that.
We just talk about video games. We have a video game themed brewery that hasn't been done yet.
Never. No,
Really?
no one's
Not
ever
at
done
all.
that.
No, not really. Yeah.
I was at one.
We'll call it 8-Bit Brewing, and then
That's what it's called.
it'll have video games on it.
Yeah.
It's not good though.
Video game art.
Yeah,
for sure.
I sent you pictures from the one in Arizona.
And then I want a beer with Sonic the Hedgehog
really
getting fucked by Tails.
There is another trilogy that needs to be talked about. Stoy, would you lead us in on here?
Are we sure we can call this a trilogy?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Right now it
yeah.
is.
Well, I mean, so far right now, because
There are 3
they
of them,
are
it doesn't
currently
make it a
working on the
trilogy.
4th one. So
Technically,
It's
Yeah.
a trilogy.
No.
Calm the fuck.
Jeez,
it's a trilogy as of right now.
Encapsulated story.
It is
of
one. It's one story
tale
of the universe.
told. Is it though?
Yes. How is it not? They are all taking place in the same
Okay,
universe.
I get both sides of
Yeah.
the argument because technically Inquisition ends one story arc, but also leaves questions for another story arc, which
But
I mean,
the
who
first
knows?
one explains itself, and then it's done.
there's not a, Inquisition
That's because they
doesn't
didn't
have a
know. They
finite
didn't
ending.
know if they're
Yeah.
making a second one. But Stoy, would you briefly talk about what the Dragon Age universe is?
So
You're the expert.
What I stated in a previous episode was that actually Dragon Age, it started with Dragon Age Origins, and it was made within the Neverwinter Nights engine, and it had that same kind of like tactical RPG style where, a little bit of D&D rules. It was a lot of chance and a lot of turn-based combat, but it basically dealt with the land of Thedas suffering from the Blight, which was like this big virus or this big plague that turned people into like darkspawn.
The darkspawn.
So it was like the White Walkers.
Yeah, kind of.
Pretty much. There's a lot of allusions to.
Oh yeah,
they referenced.
There's a shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of
shit.
correlations to Lord of the Rings in this. Yeah. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, almost like
well.
pretty obvious,
Well,
but
every fantasy derives from the fantasy before. But
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, in a way that they thought they could get away with it.
I thought it was. From what I've read, it's super interesting the way that they approach like the magic system with the Teventer Imperium. Just all of it's interesting.
Yeah,
a lot of political.
Yeah, because what this game wears on its sleeve is just the utter racism and the other class systems of just like how the nobles kind of treat the poor people, how elves are treated as slaves. Yeah. And the differences between the the mages and the why am I drawing a blank on the what was that?
The mages and the Templars?
The Templars, where it's like they're basically constantly at war with each other because Templars are just like kind of like the keepers of the mages because the mages
the witch
can
finders,
the mages can if they are unchecked they can turn into some old powerful
blood mages.
Yes.
Yeah, so where they can kind of basically use their magic for evil, they turn into blood magic and they can kind of
and they can be susceptible from like demons from the Fade and
and the Fade is like kind of like almost like like purgatory or where like
a portal
demons
to
live.
Oblivion or something.
Yeah. It's almost like kind of like a portal to hell, so to speak. So there's a lot of lore that surrounds a lot of it, but that's the one thing. It's the same with Mass Effect where there's so many races that are rooted in fantasy. There, you got dwarves, you got elves, you got humans, you got other people.
They're all there.
Yeah, they're all there. It's like
who did everyone play as? That's my question. First time,
human,
dwarf.
Never played a Dragon Age game.
Bradley.
I know.
I will. Here's one thing I can say about.
But I would have played as a Canary as soon as I could have.
And you couldn't until Inquisition.
Yeah,
that's when I would start then.
Yeah.
So in the first game, that game starts out so slow and so boring that it will almost make you think that you're playing a very bad video game. That is the first thing I will say about this series.
Did we all play it on console?
I played it on console.
Yeah. Wasn't Dragon Age supposed to be like
3.
A coming back to the isometric? It's supposed to be like a more advanced...
No. Well,
yes.
From the third person angle.
Kind of, because like I said,
it can be.
If you played it on... This was developed as a computer game. So I never played the PC version, but that was more top down is what I understand.
The combat was because in consoles they primarily had it like it was like a button mashing like kind of hack and slash.
Yeah.
But you had the option of like going into tactical mode where you can actually
there are other views.
They tried to for the consoles they tried to position the camera like a third person thing, but it was still the same engine where it wasn't really meant for to work like Uncharted or even Dragon Age 2 when that came out.
And with Dragon Age 2 they wanted to make it a little more gameplay friendly for console players and for newcomers, so they took out the tactical camera. But they were also
there's a lot of decisions made for that one
with that like up close third person camera. Then they were able to flush out ceilings.
I don't know. For me,
that
first one they rode the line. They rode the line between third person and isometric.
I will say it took me a while to get into the first one.
Yeah,
but I did.
The story is so bland until you get about, and I never like doing this because for me there's this idea where if you're not immediately interested in what's going on, don't fucking do it. Because that's kind of a...
The story was bland. So the main character is conscripted into the Grey Wardens, which is the Night's Watch-ish.
Yeah.
And the king also is dead, so there's like a power vacuum.
Yeah.
You didn't care for the story in the first one?
No, because when you first start out, especially like the first 5 to 10 hours, you are in a point where you're playing through basic fantasy shit. And then that's true. I think everyone here can agree with
I think,
that.
I think Dragon Age isn't a plot-driven game so much as it is just a character interaction.
It ends up being highly compelling, but you really have to get into it. But when you use stuff like dwarves and elves, you're using these tropes that have been used so many times that there's really nothing else to gain from it. It's, especially in my opinion. It's like when you have stuff like Asari and Elcor and stuff like that, you at least then you have something to kind of latch onto for that. I didn't need all of these things to be retread. I liked how elves were kind of like the slave race, or
between Dragon Age and The Witcher. I'm like, all right, which one are the elves, the second class citizens?
Pretty
which
much
one are the dwarves? The second
every other,
you know.
Well, in The Witcher, all of the other races are second classes.
But the Witcher, the dwarves are in like the ghetto.
It's interesting how they explore these different races, though, and they put their own little twists on them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I do appreciate that the elves have lost touch, kind of, with their natural side.
Yep.
But there are still some mages who do.
Dalish versus
the dwarves can't use any magic, and they can't dream, which is like what?
Yeah.
And
it's cool.
Well, and most dwarves are defined to just living underground.
Right.
Yeah. Don't live above ground.
What's the term if a dwarf decides to live above ground? There's something like they all hate ground dwellers or whatever.
Yeah, they hate ground dwellers. Yeah,
but that's who ultimately joins your party.
There is a term for that.
Every single person I talked to in the first Dragon Age was like, "Oh, you're from above ground, huh? Oh, you fucking idiot! You fucking dipshit!" And I'm just like,
"You're gonna fall into the sky."
No wonder you didn't like the game. Jeez,
like, you're not allowed at my end because you're a fucking dwarf. And then the party member would be like, "Okay, let's not go that far." And I'd be like, "Thank you."
Yes. It took me a while to get into the first game, and I did eventually get into it.
But you see what I'm saying about like how the story is just so idiotic.
I mean, the overarching story was bland.
It really didn't get.
It wore it on its sleeve. You knew where it was going.
Yeah,
but
But
I love the just the here again the world building and just like you were mentioning, Stoy, just the interactions and like the between the races.
This game was in development for maybe like 7 years that they were like trying to advance the story. And I think what's great, one thing that EA did do that was not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it was. I don't know. They convinced Bioware to bring it to consoles as well, because this was being developed strictly as a PC title when they got a hold of it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess that's why Dragon Age 2 goes through such an identity crisis. And also, they were not given time to advance the story.
Right.
But
they were not given time to develop assets for it. Like, it was it was like a retread through a lot of similar, the same areas, the same, kind of buildings in the same worlds.
Yeah.
Just to build content.
Yes. So the Old Republic got delayed, and EA brought down the hammer and says, "Hey, you motherfuckers need to release a game."
Yeah.
Another game. And Bioware's like, okay, we can do this offshoot of Dragon Age called Dragon Age Exodus, was what they wanted to call it.
Which would have been a million times better than Dragon Age 2.
But EA, the marketing, they're just like,
and if they would have,
it must be Dragon Age 2.
If they would have marketed the game as
a spin-off.
It's a spin-off. We're going to in depth on this one city's location. We're exploring this history.
Yeah.
I think they could have twisted that tale and to be better, but selling it as a sequel is probably more profitable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But the fact that the first one was Dragon Age Origins, and then the next one's a different, it makes sense to follow the naming.
Origins is dumb too. I think.
Oh no, I don't think so, because
I don't think so either.
You pick your class and you play the origin story of each of those classes.
I think it's a bad.
Well, I always thought
Hashtag not a fan.
when they developed it that they took it from some D&D universe, didn't they?
They might have, but
some story.
As most of what they did, I'm sure.
Exactly.
But for me, it's one of these things where it says, let's be as bland as possible, and then let's add origins to the title. Are you kidding me?
Do you know where the term Thetis comes from?
Thetans? You mean from Scientology?
No. Thetis, whatever the name of
the land. Yeah.
The Dragon Age setting.
No. Oh, really?
Wait, that's how they
Okay.
That's where the name came from.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. See?
And okay.
By hook or
No,
by crook,
this
you
is
come-
Genius, actually.
He's got tattoos of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
But-
That was a fact I didn't know.
So, Story, your point, Dragon Age 2, it was just, I mean, they refined the combat. Okay. That was probably its saving, like the only bright spot. And I did enjoy it. It's fine. But the reusing of the assets and the repetition of all the environments is just glaring. I mean, from almost minute one, you realize, oh shit,
you're going to the
this
same
is
places every
a
time.
budge in title.
Fuck.
You know,
Do they sell it as an expansion pack then?
Well, and that was the thing because I distinctly remember them.
If you're given 14 to 16 months to develop a game, what do you do?
Right.
You reuse a lot of your assets.
I don't mind reusing assets.
You design a game that can be told in flashback and that can have temporal compression of the time, so you can go from advanced 10 years because somebody's retelling the story.
Yeah.
So you don't have to actually build a whole game that spans this
you
amount
mean
of time.
Final Fantasy 15?
What they were able to accomplish in 14 to 16 months, I think that's amazing.
You're on, yeah. I mean, you're unable.
No, it's astonishing. I will never not give credit to the people who developed this. I played 2 and immediately I was turned off. But one of the things I have to say is you cannot just blame the people who made these fucking games.
No.
Any game in general. I'm saying like
it's EA. EA is to blame for this.
A lot of this is corporate overlords.
Yeah.
So for me, whenever I play a game that sucks, what you have to do is you have to view it from an outside angle. You have to say, what were they actually experiencing? What were they actually seeing? What were they actually doing? Because a lot of people who've worked on really awesome games have worked on really shitty games. And then you have to question why that actually occurred.
Yeah.
When it comes to Dragon Age 2, I got maybe 10 hours into it and I said, fuck it. And I threw that PS2 I threw that PS2 disc in the goddamn garbage.
Was it a PS2?
That was PS3.
Three. I'm sorry.
360,
3. That's what I meant. It was 360 PC.
You just took a random PS2 disc and like, fuck this.
I'm just like
Tony Hawk Underground.
No, not my copy of Final Fantasy 12.
It's just my Katamari disc, and I start crying.
Oh, right. Oh, you can throw other discs away. Leave Katamari out.
I will never.
Yeah,
I would never throw that away.
And see, this was the thing that I wanted to say earlier is that the developers acknowledged that at the time they had such a big time crunch with developing this game.
And that's fair.
They wanted to make it as deep as possible. So they acknowledged, in interviews that we were at a crossroads. Should we make a short RPG style game or should we add content to it? And they opted to do content. So that's why they recycled a lot of those, levels and a lot of those areas that it's like, okay, you're going to the same area 10 times within the story to do like 10 different missions. But, it's like they wanted to make a deep game that you could play for like 30, 40 hours.
I think they fell upon the MMO aspect of what maybe, honestly, this game could have and should have been, because they could have expanded this. A lot of what MMO is revisiting same areas.
Yeah.
It's not just completing a level.
There's
It's
a lot of that in Dragon Age.
revisiting an area. And
or like
so,
unlocking smaller areas within that same region.
No,
too,
but that's exactly right. And I think for certain gameplay loops, that is very good. But when you have a AAA title, and especially an RPG made by a prestigious company, I think people just find that unacceptable.
Yeah, and a lot of people did.
And I mean, as far as character creation, you are pigeonholed into being Hawk, either male or female version of a specific character. There's not a lot of agency there. I mean, to role play.
There's no real role playing,
right?
Yeah,
I mean, you could be a mage or you could be like a knight or whatever, and depending on what you pick. I mean, it does in a little bit of a sense, especially when you pick a mage. I don't know if you ever played as a mage.
The Mage Rebellion in the second Dragon Age is a huge element in the universe. Oh, absolutely. It does have huge repercussions.
Yeah.
But even like if you play the game as a mage, like even some of the character interactions of just like people judging you because just the fact that you're a mage. Like there's already an element of racism involved in that.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's really weird. This is one of the few Bioware products where they have a ton of extra shit tied to it. We're talking even live action shit. There's one starring Felicia Day.
Why are they making live action content as
well? They made that. There's like a cartoon. There's a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. There's a ton of stuff, which
I remember
only
getting
speaks to the
live
fan
action
base.
comic.
Okay. So Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2. After those two. Ray and Greg have left the company, and Dragon Age, Inquisition, and Mass Effect Andromeda, and also Anthem are all being worked on concurrently.
You mean Project Dylan?
Project Big Tex.
Project Big Tex.
Yeah. it might have been
from
successful
Austin,
with Project Big Tex, but
That'd be all right.
EA has now mandated you must use the Frostbite engine, which
was made for first-person shooters.
But I can see some of the reasons they want to do it. If all of their games are being made in this,
homogeny,
they're helping each other out by developing the engine.
They just don't want to pay royalties to fucking Epic.
Yes,
for Unreal Engine,
but
which worked just fine.
Which doesn't cost anything, by the way.
The Frostbite engine is what Dragon Age Inquisition is made on.
Yes.
And so they realized we're working on this new engine. We wanted to do DLC for Dragon Age 2, and they wanted to do, what was it, like Dragon Age Blackout? They wanted to do...
Black Ops.
No, maybe. But they wanted to do like a multiplayer offshoot, but both of those were canceled so they could focus on Dragon Age Inquisition.
Correct.
Talk about the right fucking move.
Yeah,
if we have to work on a new engine, let's just put everything onto here and let's focus on it.
But what
that
a
game
nightmare.
sold cuckoo bananas.
I love it when you say cuckoo bananas so much.
Because there was nothing else going on. For the early
for the new
PS4 and Xbox One, there was nothing going on.
Well, that was right
in
at the
terms of
inception of the new generation, because I remember it was primarily developed for the 360 and PS3, but they obviously co-developed it with PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah.
And that's really what made the whole entire thing. I think there were a lot of people that jumped on the Dragon Age bandwagon at this exact point. Dragon Age Origins is fine. It's fine. I like that game a lot, but Inquisition was so much more accessible. They explained a lot of that exposition to you right away. Yeah. They gave you more to think about. They allowed you to absorb yourself into that world, and you didn't have as much baggage.
Yeah.
So, and I think Dragon Age Inquisition is the best Dragon Age game that has ever existed.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's very good.
Yeah. And that's the reason I choose that one, because I think Dragon Age Origins is fine, but I think I think the art style is a little boring, and I think the choices they made for Inquisition were so good.
Yeah, great cast of characters, but yeah, the pain that those guys went through trying to get the Frostbite engine, the engine that's known for Battlefield first-person shooter, just to get that to work as
there was no functioning like menu management for RPGs built in the Frostbite.
No menus, no save systems.
Yeah,
no system to show your character on screen because
let's build it from the ground up.
Yeah,
and there was a huge problem with that in the Bioware studio that was creating Mass Effect Andromeda, because they should be working together. Instead, they're feeling competitive and like they're working against each other.
Well, and EA wasn't necessarily providing a lot of support to them either. They just said make the game, but you guys are gonna have to figure it out on your own.
Exactly. All this the subject matter experts of the engine were in Sweden, DICE.
How do you communicate with someone in Sweden?
And there's only like a few people that really knew the engine great, to help BioWare with their problems. And I'm sure Dragon Age is a popular game, got some resources. But when, EA was putting FIFA and Madden on the Frostbite engine, guess which games those people were allocated to help out?
Yeah.
It's going to be FIFA, so the guys at BioWare are just like sitting, waiting, trying to get answers to like, how can we do this? And, their hands are strong. So if Brad, I know you just got that Blood, Sweat, and Pixels book.
I haven't read it yet.
There's a whole chapter on Dragon Age Inquisition.
Very excited.
Listen to it last night again, and it's great. It just goes through all the troubles and hardships.
I know that.
What was the book called?
Blood, Sweat, and Pixels is by Jason Schreier from Kotaku.
Okay.
Every chapter is a different. Every chapter is a different game, and it goes in kind of like the backstory of the development
and how everyone got crunched and shit on.
And
sounds interesting.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If there is an up-to-date video game article about the industry, you can bet it's from Kotaku, and you can bet it's Jason Schreier. I was going to say every single time. Every time there's a breaking thing, you can go onto Kotaku.
There's only like one or two people.
Like he is literally. He's got so many people in the industry that like understand what's going on. That it's up to date. Just Google Grayson Schreier. Fuck
Grayson
me, man.
Schreier. Dragon Age Inquisition.
Fuck me.
Managed to stick the landing.
Yeah,
for the most part. Yeah, I mean,
it won Game of the Year.
Various games.
It was a weak
They
year.
didn't have any competition.
Witcher
besides
3,
like Shadow of Mordor.
Witcher 3 released shortly afterwards.
2015.
2015.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is way better.
Yeah, but I know that they were kind of overshadowed for a second there by Witcher 3. But I guess since it released, what is it?
It did well in
November
2014.
18th, 2014. They did win the Game of the Year then.
Definitely.
There was nothing that came out that year. Do you guys remember that year? Nothing came out.
Yeah, that was, like I said, when we were talking earlier, that was that kind of like blending of generations between PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 and stuff.
It was a poopy year.
This game brought back the tactical camera, did it not?
Yeah, it did, and it gave you that option to use that, but it was primarily like, like action combat. It gave you the option that if you wanted to go the tactical route, like in Origins.
Yeah, but it was definitely a direct response to Dragon Age 2.
Yeah.
That they're like, okay, we're going to make this world huge. I mean, it was so huge that people wouldn't, the first land
leave
you
the hinterlands,
that they had to patch in like a text box that would pop up like, hey,
dude, you should probably leave.
You can leave this area, this isn't the whole game. And,
I remember that specifically. I was just like, I was playing and I had, I don't know what I can't remember what the crossbow guy's name was.
Varric.
Thank you. And I was just like, I'm walking around in the place with him and I'm just like, oh, this is pretty cool. And immediately I was like, well, I'll explore every area. And then the thing pops up on the screen and I'm just like, oh, okay. Like,
I thought the same
it's just
thing.
like there are other quests in other areas. This is not a true open
that
world.
game was huge.
Yeah, I remember that because I was in the hinterlands for quite a long time.
Yep.
But I remember, Varric called his
time.
crossbow Bianca. I remember,
Hell yeah.
Yes.
We have a few more things to talk about over this next half an hour.
We
Oh,
are.
golly.
Gosh. Any quick last thoughts on the Dragon Age series? Stoy, I'll let you go first.
Well, Inquisition had it right because what I think Inquisition did very well was it had a very diverse set of characters. I mean, every character that you had was different. You had Iron Bull, who was a Quarian. You had Vivian, who was like, a noble mage. And then you had Varric.
Do you mean a Qunari?
Qunari? What did I
just
say?
imagined...
Tali
Zoro over there.
Yeah.
There's so many great characters.
And then Cole, who was like... Cole was an interesting one because he was like kind of like a Fade style ghost or something like that could like speak with the dead and stuff.
Yes.
And he would always freak people out.
I forgot about
yes. Yeah, he was like weird because he would freak people out. He's like,
a dead boy inhabited by
your husband that died, he misses you or something like that. And it's like, what? Who are you?
Right. This is creepy.
But and then Blackwall, did you guys who played Inquisition?
I played Inquisition.
Did you guys kick Blackwall out of your party? Or did you keep him?
Kept him.
Yeah, I kept him too.
I might have because I didn't really remember him then.
I mean, there was a...
Well...
Yeah.
I didn't...
There are parts of this game I wouldn't want to spoil if you keep him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's like I'm I don't want to say what the matter is.
I kept him even though most people got rid of him. I kept him because, first of all, he's powerful.
Yep.
And I knew there was a part of me that understands like script writing, and this is like me being like meta about it. I was like, well, this dude, he's gonna serve a purpose. Like, like I'll tolerate him, but I won't like deal with his shit. So I'll treat him like crap and tell him like, no, bad, wrist slap.
Right.
That's how you and I podcast together. You do that.
I wrist slap you, and I say, bad Bradley.
Yeah. Just a great cast of characters. Even Dorian.
He was like kind of like the Yeah, he was like kind of like the outcasted like gay Tevinter mage.
And he was outcast because he was gay.
And his family like kind of like ostracized him.
Yes,
and you didn't know that until obviously you had those inklings when you first met him, but once you started to kind of more talk to him, and he opened up and he told you these stories, it's like, oh wow, this is a very depth.
I thought he was a very strong,
deep character.
Very
but
strong.
And that's what I think BioWare really hit the nail on the head with Dragon Age Inquisition in particular, is that the amount of characters and all their backstories.
Yes, because the arching plot of that fucking game is you get that within like the first hour. Here's the bad guy, and now you need to get everybody on board to fight the bad guy, and that's basically the whole game.
But the last thing I want to say is that when they all sing that song, "The Dawn Will Come" in that campground, exit their whole
very good.
That's awesome.
The shepherd lost, and his home is far. Keep to the stars, the dawn will come. The night is long, and the path is dark. Look to the sky for one day soon.
Goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it right now.
I forget. Totally forgot about that part.
Until you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like Dragon Age Inquisition. Who gives a fuck? And I'm just like, shit. I'm just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That speaks. I think that speaks to the writing team more than anything.
Absolutely.
it really does,
I like Dragon Age a lot. I might like it more than Mass Effect.
So, Dylan,
yes,
can you explain the release of Mass Effect Andromeda?
Oh God!
Can I?
I have dissenting opinions, I think, here.
So internally, from what I understand, is that they were debating making a spiritual successor. They were debating completely rebooting the universe. I'm saying like making a new concept of like humanity and a bunch of different races. But then they said, well, EA said, let's put it that way. No, we need the Asari there. We need the Krogans. We need all of these Asari. Quarians, and we need Turians. And they were like, well, okay, but how do we do this? Mass Effect 3 had a very definitive ending.
I like how they went about it, though. Who was it? Oh, okay, so the game director, Gerard Leonie, who was brought over
Canadian.
Yeah, Canadian for sure, but before this, he was, of course, known for making some of the worst Spider-Man games ever made.
Now hold on.
But it was his...
Which ones?
Fuck, what was it? The Edge of Time?
Can we say Casey Hudson was not involved in
there are some that I might disagree with you on.
And Drew Karpyshyn was not involved either.
Yeah, obviously
he wasn't. Of course not.
No.
Apart from all that, Mass Effect Andromeda, they decided to go to another galaxy, which I think was a smart move. But this team was pursuing a game that was going to be procedurally generated planets. They wanted to pursue exploration for most of the development period.
Kinda
That's
like
what
No
they
Man's
were doing.
Sky. Yeah,
it was pitched, not initially pitched, but they were like conceiving it as a No Man's Sky with Mass Effect graphics and characters,
which they could not achieve.
They did get some working prototypes of procedurally generated planets that you could also drive a vehicle on.
They didn't look good. Have you seen some of them?
Yes, they didn't look good and they didn't play good.
Nope.
It wasn't working. They were using the Frostbite engine,
which is not built for third-person action RPGs.
No, and I heard throughout the development that they had such a difficult time even like troubleshooting the engine itself with EA and DICE. Like they were just like not helpful at all.
Well, so EA wanted everyone to be on Frostbite.
Yeah.
Because they wanted homogeny, because that's very important to most companies. They just want you to be on the same thing because that allows them to say like, why can't you do this? It allows them to be
and you're all bettering the engine at the same time. Like,
exactly.
Once Mass Effect Andromeda
make an engine that is very homogenous in general, like Unreal Engine, so to speak, where like you could make any type of game with that engine.
But the problem is though that they wasted over 3 years pursuing this procedurally generated planet philosophy of game design.
Yes.
Yeah.
They spent so much time working on this, and it wasn't panning out. And then they were given, hey, this is your deadline. We need to get this fucking game out. And, you have many members leaving mid-project. Casey Hudson was working on Project Dylan at the time, but he left BioWare. Gerard Leone, he left BioWare as well. They brought Mac Walters in to be the creative director, and he was the one who's kind of said, all right, let's scale it back to 30 planets that are procedurally generated. And then it was like, no, okay, we're just having 7 planets. We're going to design them. Mm-hmm. We have to make a fucking story, and we have to get this working now. I mean, most of the game was made in a year and a half.
Well, a lot of this,
I thought even less than that.
It is. No.
Yeah.
A lot of games even now are still made within the first year and a half.
Yeah.
Well, Tom's right.
You mean 10 years and also a year?
9 months.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, the reality ends up being is that a lot of people have these lofty ideas, and a lot of the greater ideas come from the first 3/4 of the entire development process. So we're saying like they develop a lot of these procedurally generated. If we're talking about Mass Effect Andromeda, like Brad was saying, procedurally generated in quotations. But once you get to that point, you're allowed to like push your system a little bit further to actually create something that might as well be the actual thing. The problem ends up being is that it wasn't that from the start, and so everything is messed up right at the beginning. And so you have to deal with the aspect of, well, we're dealing with a whole entire broken system. If you can make that look good, it's fine. One of the examples of that would be Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 came from a completely broken system of they had the engine, they had the character models, they had the actors, and they had all of this.
Well, they had Amy Hennig's game.
But then, exactly. Well, then it all went away.
Right.
But they were still able to complete it. This is an example of a successful landing after a weird dismount.
Right.
But for them, they just could not do it.
Stoy, you mentioned that you had an opinion that might be conflicting on Mass Effect Andromeda.
Does
I'd
he
like
like
to
it?
hear that.
Yeah, I liked it.
What the fuck is wrong with
Sorry.
you?
Jesus.
Hey, guys, we got one soundboard. It is smoking. Okay.
All right.
Wait. What I'd like to know, Stoy, are you talking about the day one release or the patched version to make it playable?
Okay, for starters, what I liked about it was I liked the direction that they went. I like the fact that the whole Pathfinder mission, the Mass Effect 3 ending was definitive. That was the end of that era. And now we're moving to a different era. Mm-hmm. And I appreciated the fact that, it takes a lot of courage to like ditch that whole Shepard series behind to go to a different era. And
it's a fresh start and a side story.
Exactly.
I thought it was brilliant.
When I heard how they were going to handle it, I didn't think it was that bad.
I like the idea.
Yeah,
I like the idea a lot.
The execution maybe was a little bit fuddled because I didn't experience a lot of those initial when they released it in the beta, and then you saw all those gifs of your character walking through floors and the weird character animations, but a lot of that is still prevalent even to this day.
You're talking, of course, about how EA put the game on EA Access 5 days before the game was released, which caused everyone to release those videos and destroy the game's
that's right. I forgot
reputation before it came out.
Yes. And I remember that because I was so dismayed because I'm such a big Mass Effect fan, and then to see this, I'm like, oh no, what are they doing?
So I got this game day one. For my PlayStation
too.
4, of course, because I was such a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, I was playing it and I said, Allie, come check out this fucking game. I'm like, it's finally a fucking new Mass Effect game. I'm so much older than I was then. And now I'm playing it.
And it looks worse than
and then there was a cutscene where I'm like, honestly, check it out. I just created a character. He looked really good in the thing I created. He actually looks like me. And then they allow you to test facial animations in the actual because in a lot of other Mass Effects, your character looks like a goddamn idiot if you choose to make one yourself.
Yeah.
And then Allie turned away and I'm like, oh fuck. And we're talking. It looks so good. And she turns back and then Shepard barely has a face. Ryder. I'm sorry. And I'm just whoa. And she's like, whoa, Jesus Christ, did you create him like that? And I'm like, no,
that's great. Yeah.
And see, that was the thing because they were in such a time crunch with developing this game that they actually outsourced a lot of the facial animation.
Yeah.
From what I heard.
To overseas.
Yeah. We're talking.
Yeah.
I mean, they were showing side-by-side video of Mass Effect 1 like like how characters moved in conversation.
Just animation quality.
Versus Andromeda. This 2007 fucking looked amazing compared
this is a Frostbite issue. This is them trying to adapt to a new engine.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. It's sad. If they were just given the opportunity to work on an engine that was familiar to them.
Well, they could have. That's the problem.
They could have, but they
EA
weren't.
Wasn't letting them.
But if they had been, I mean, new species introduced in Mass Effect Andromeda 2. Mm-hmm. You have the cat and you have the Angara.
In an entire galaxy.
But they had plans to introduce so many other different species that they were kind of limited.
They had to
time
and like completely leave species behind. Their ships got lost.
Different,
They
couldn't bring the Krogans. They couldn't bring Quarians. And they were planning on doing that with DLC. Obviously, at the end of the game, they
now
were
it's in a novel form.
Yeah, exactly. That was basically like, oh yeah, here you can read about it.
I don't even know it's canon at this point.
So I think
it is technically.
We would all agree the story outside of like the original idea, the idea of the cat and this new galaxy, the whole bad guy. I didn't think it was worth much. Did you like it?
Like I said, the cat needed to be fleshed out more. I think there was so much more exposition they needed to give them.
They were just bad guys.
Yeah, they were just the bad guys. They were just like, here's who you're fighting against.
And I don't know. It seemed like a misstep, a disappointment. Question or challenge. Don't look at your notes.
I think it was.
Challenge. Without looking at notes. How many characters can you name of relevance outside of Pathfinder? Tom, I'll start with you. Can you name any character's first name
for Andromeda?
For Andromeda.
I never played it. So
Dylan.
There was one Kara.
We're going to go ahead and say you get a half point.
Yeah, I was going to say you're half right. I'm like thinking like I know who you're talking about. You're talking about Cora.
My romance
Cora,
option.
thank
Cora,
you.
Yeah.
I mean, Cora is everyone's romance option because what's your alternative?
Well, you could
B.
No, Cora was strictly lesbian, I thought.
No.
That was only a female.
Nope.
She just has the haircut.
Okay. No, I thought literally she was only like a female.
You're talking about her favorite
Radara.
Sorry, peanut butter, PB.
PB.
Yeah.
I said B.
PB was my romance option.
PB
she was so
great.
eccentric and weird.
Yep. She was.
Oh my God, she's so cute.
She's so unique.
She was a spunky girl.
Oh yeah.
No, but Cora, because PB, I was like, come on.
I think the combat mechanics in Andromeda are some of the best in the series.
Yeah,
that's what the Engine 4, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It felt good.
It played great
until you faced a giant sandworm boss that you weren't supposed to face,
or you just had to talk to a character. That was the fucking boss for all of them.
What's your persuasion level? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I just showed up.
Yeah, because in Andromeda they abandoned the whole Paragon and Renegade.
They did, which is good.
Yeah,
I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
I was tired of
Really?
that.
There's no any meter.
I'm gonna go and make one callback into Mass Effect 3. The fact that like they make Paragon and Renegade versus save the Quarians or save the Geth. That's not a black and white fucking issue.
Yeah.
You can't say that this one's good and this one's bad. Those are different.
Well,
aspects.
they proved that at the end. Destroying the Reapers was a red choice, which is traditionally bad. And
there should not be like good and evil attached to decisions. If they wanted to make a truly choice-driven game, a choice-driven game, it shouldn't be like wait on this is going to make your character this or that. It is strictly your choices affect the universe, not you get good points or bad points.
Yeah.
That's what they were striving for, and I think that they missed the mark a lot of it.
No, they did. But here's the real kicker about the last selection you have to actually make is that green is usually bad and blue is usually good. But blue, you end up with the elusive man, and then red, you end up with Colonel Cool Black Guy or whatever his name
Anderson.
Colonel Anderson.
Thank you.
Instead of Admiral Hackett.
Yeah.
All right, Andromeda. If anyone has 2 sentences to describe their feelings before we move on.
So, as being someone that hasn't played it, is it worth playing?
No.
With the patches, yes. No, with the patches,
no.
I would say it's worth playing. It's worth.
I think it's worth playing. I think it's worth experiencing because
Tom, you're a busy man.
Yeah,
it depends on if you have other things to do.
Yeah, okay.
There are better games to play.
like I said, the majority of this game is combat based, and the combat is very fluid. It's very frantic. It's very solid.
Yeah, agree.
You know, and I think you'll enjoy. Everybody said like the combat is great about the game.
Right. Yeah.
Granted, you know, the story and the character conversations, and even like the voice acting, I can even admit is kind of like wooden, and it's like they really didn't.
Kumail, whatever his name is from
Nanjiani?
Yeah, he's in there. He's great. He's a Solarian.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Actually, yeah.
He's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
But even who's the other your other co-captain, the Irish girl, where she's like, you know, I just believe in religion, you know,
and you're like,
and it's all this science stuff.
Can I bone you?
Yeah, can I
bone you?
Give it all she's
what's
got.
what's gonna get me to bone you if I buy your religion thing? Okay,
I'll
sure.
buy your religious stuff. All right, can I bone you?
Great,
I'm Irish. Give me some fucking whiskey.
I made from the character creator.
All right then, we have about 18 minutes to discuss Anthem.
Oh, that's great. We got that's plenty of time.
Tom,
Oh, you mean the one where you blimey fly around in a suit?
Now it's Scottish, huh?
Tom, remember that Iron Man game they made called Anthem?
Everyone was doing
I heard
Scottish,
something
to be honest.
about it, right?
Tom, what's Anthem?
Also, another game that I haven't played.
I wanted to. I really wish it was on like a Game Pass.
When they first unveiled it, I'm like, and they showed it in motion at that E3, and I'm like, and they went under, they flew up in the air and then went underwater. I'm like, oh, even though I knew it was an online only game, I was like, I might have to try this.
I saw it was on a major sale recently, and I thought, I really want to try it.
Yeah.
Stoy, have you played Anthem?
Yeah, I played it.
Give us.
All right, thanks. That's it, everybody.
Oh,
give us the
Yeah,
low
what's it
down.
like? What do you do?
Listen, all you do is just like, you know, they touted it as being like Destiny with a story. You know,
That's funny.
It's basically just like the same kind of like procedurally generated online game.
First person shooter, grinding,
Yeah,
loot based.
in
with a
this
story.
case, it was like third person shooter. You know, with a story. Like it was, and granted, a lot of the story missions and a lot of the story character interactions were really well done. There was a really fleshed out story here, but the problem was that those story beats were so far away from all the combat, all the mundane combat missions that you had to do.
Yeah,
of just like go to this area, engage in this combat scenario. Okay, now advance like 10 miles to this area,
and you're playing with other
combat.
people at the same time.
You can, or you could play it solo.
Okay,
and but the problem is if you play with other people, like this game is dependent on like you trying to kind of like explore and pick up items and stuff like that, pick up loot. But if you play with random people online, they're not playing that way. They're like quickly advancing to the next objective.
Okay,
and if you get too far away from them, you get cut out of the game.
Oh,
yeah.
This goes back
or
to
you advance
back to the beginning of Mass Effect, where the first person shooter is merging with RPGs.
RPG is not necessarily a genre anymore; it's a mechanic, I think.
And I think you're right there.
Yeah.
But this is part of what Destiny and Anthem are trying to do, which is to take the MMO experience and adapt it to RPGs, where they can make first-person shooters as a viable,
as a service,
long-term online service worthy of getting paid for. And they're not delivering so far.
No, they really aren't. Not with Anthem. That's for sure.
Or with Destiny, with like a story-driven experience where it has to function.
Do you think MMOs are solely story-driven?
No, I don't. But I think first-person shooters need to find a way to make the story relevant enough to where you care to keep playing.
Yeah, right.
And they need to make meaningful loot drops. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Destiny,
that's why Destiny is so good.
Destiny, I played for so long, and I grinded enough with it, but I still don't. My only memorable like good thoughts are the people I played with. It's not. Oh, I finally got. I mean, the Gallarhorn was big. That was the only thing I really remember.
The Gallarhorn.
I remember Gallarhorn Day when it was available. But, I mean, I don't know.
I got into PvP with that. Ooh, boy.
So I don't think it's happened yet where they've gotten the first-person shooter long-term 10-year plan down.
Well, this is a third-person shooter.
Well, it's the shooter.
I mean, does anybody know for sure where the genesis of this, the idea came from? Was it something that
Bioware... came from Mass Effect 3.
Was it something that Bioware always wanted to do, or it was something that EA saw with Destiny and said, "Hey,
I think it was
I really think it was the latter. On your point, I think they saw how kind of successful Destiny was, and they wanted to have their answer to that.
They shifted towards Destiny, but it was 4 or 5 years in development before it came out. So I mean,
it was in. They started development like halfway through Andromeda.
Well, I mean, of course, it was codenamed Project Dylan.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be.
Hey, let's play a game, man.
You can't name something Project Dylan like this is going to be the Bob Dylan video games. You are destined to
After
fail.
I heard that, I was like,
really
what the
were.
fuck? Like, they're like Project Dylan. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is going to be bad. That's the first thing I thought.
Some of the team was pulled to work.
Exactly.
Some of the team was pulled to work on FIFA. Casey Hudson, who was the driving person.
Fuck.
So, I mean, this guy, he worked on, he was directed KOTOR.
He had a pedigree.
He made the Mass Effect trilogy, which might have stumbled at the end. Still the fucking Mass Effect trilogy. I'm working on Anthem. I'm making this game, Project Dylan.
Yep.
He just leaves like, I'm out of here, dude.
Yeah.
This shit's fucking done.
And he's not the only one that left too. There was a ton of people that left during development.
Yippee.
Aaron Flynn left. Mike Laidlaw, who was he was a creative director for the Dragon Age series.
Yeah.
Drew Karpyshyn left. And he recently came out and said, like, yeah, dude, EA sucks. EA sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Drew Karpyshyn especially, like, he had so many good ideas for what the Mass Effect games could be, but he really was just so pigeonholed right into his own position.
You know, it's disappointing. I've tried to read a lot in on Anthem and watch videos, and none of them even touch on what the story's supposed to be. Nobody addresses the story.
Oh, you don't know that the anthem is like a cybernetic song being sung throughout the entire galaxy?
Okay.
Is that where things are born out of the anthem or something?
Yes.
Yeah, the anthem is like kind of like the progenitor of life or something like that. Whatever. How they describe it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Stoy, I can see like the defeat in your face.
Yeah, I know because
that.
I had such high hopes
There's
for
something
Anthem.
good about
because-
the idea.
Yeah. I had such high hopes for Anthem, and I was like forcing myself to play it for so long, and I just got defeated at the end. I was like,
how long did you play it for?
I played it for like a couple months afterwards.
Really?
And it was funny because I was like talking to my friends, I'm like, you should get Anthem, and everyone's like, eh.
Right.
I'm like, please
That's
guys, get Anthem.
I need some friends on here.
Yeah. I can't play this game solo anymore, and I hate playing with random people.
Right.
You need a crew. You
Yeah,
need a crew
you
to
really
play
do.
those games.
Gotta.
If you're going to play those regularly, you need to have like 4 to 6 people that if
Solid.
they're on, they join.
Yeah.
Yep. You
Yeah.
can't play those without them.
No, you can't. And you can't play with random people because you can if you want a quick run through a mission, but like if you're the type of person that wants to actually enjoy the experience, you can't play with random people, especially in that game.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I still feel the same way about Destiny. I've played with so many randos that it doesn't. Like I've been good at the game too, but they're like, "Why weren't you doing this? Like you're supposed to be a DPS role."
That
I'm
was
like,
me.
"What the
That
fuck
was
are you
that was
talking
me. I was
about?"
definitely talking to him.
You fucking shit.
So
This is why I don't like playing with you.
Oh, I'll say
This is
this.
0 times I've
I'll
played
say
with you.
this. When I was doing Lyft and Uber, I came upon this one person from Oak Creek that I picked up, and she loved Bioware. Like I picked her up and she had a fucking.
How did this start?
No, she had
Dylan just like driving like, so you ever played Mass Effect Andromeda?
What do you think of Dragon Age 2?
She had an N7 shirt
Okay.
with a Dragon Age t-shirt underneath.
Okay. The amount of those N7 shirts you see in public, it's gotten to the point where I think it's a clothing line outside of
It might as well
I'm
be.
second guessing myself. I'm like, that's a Mass Effect thing, right? Because everybody has those fucking shirts.
No, there was I went to a video game kind of like convention down in Illinois, and Courtney Taylor was there. Courtney Taylor did the voice of Jack in the Mass Effect series.
Did you
And
ask her out? Because I would have.
I came up to her and I was like,
Carly.
"Hey, how are you?" And she was like, "I was wondering when you were going to come talk to me." Because I wore this shirt. And I was like, yeah, sorry, I was a little
And you're
nervous.
the dialogue wheel. You went renegade and you just kissed her.
Yeah, exactly. I just like grabbed her.
You pinned me up against this wall.
Yeah. So no, she actually kicked my ass after the end of it. So
Right.
But because
That's
she's
pretty hot.
Jack, but it's okay.
That's cute.
That's we like that about
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
That's awesome. So Dylan, you had this Dragon Age Mass Effect loving person in your Uber.
Like literally, I was driving her to the airport, and we were talking about all the games from the Bioware series. Essentially, we're talking about Dragon Age. She loved Dragon Age. She loved Mass Effect. And then I said, "Oh, how do you feel about Anthem?" And she's like, "I hear you can't romance anyone." And I'm like, and I'm like,
It's
yeah,
like,
I hear that too.
See, with Anthem, the romance options are who you play with online.
The romance is your
you could romance literally.
The romance
Dude,
is your hand.
if they spun that as like a beat,
Yes.
I could appreciate that. Stoy,
What do they call those? Your co-pilot, so to speak. What do they call those in Anthem?
Chewbacca.
life partner.
The guys that like control your.
Dude, you're the only one who plays Anthem.
Remember.
I
don't remember.
If you can't even remember,
Stoy, Stoy. So are you still playing Anthem, or are you done?
No, I'm done.
Okay. Do you have any faith in Bioware since they've recently announced we are redoing? We're gonna rehaul it. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna move forward.
Too late.
I think it's too late.
I think it's too late.
This isn't Destiny. I think Destiny felt good to play right away, and I think that's the only reason it survived.
The only way
gun
Destiny was to
felt
be able
good.
to be rebooted because the first Destiny was destined, pardon the pun, to be a 10-year game. That was initially going to be a procedurally like a game the last 10 years, but in order for them to reboot it, they had to make a sequel. I think the only way to save Anthem is to literally just, I guess, start over fresh and make a sequel.
Yeah.
And I know Bioware won't
make
do it
something
because,
Well, that's kind of what Destiny did, though. They didn't call it a sequel, though. They just released an expansion called The Taken King, which was essentially that reboot they needed to finally make it feel right.
It's not the same thing, though, because when you're playing, I played some of Anthem. Anthem does not feel as good as Destiny feels to play. Because Destiny, first of all, is so straightforward. It is a first-person shooter. When you get a gun in that game, you know how that gun works. It feels great to play. And you can just kind of get the feel of it. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, earning those new guns and earning that kind of stuff is its own gameplay loop. You can shoot the same enemy 5,000 times, and it won't matter for you in Destiny. But I think for Anthem, I don't think they have that hook. I don't think the hook is there.
No, because all the guns look exactly the same.
They play the same.
Stats are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stats may be different. Like this one's a little bit higher attack power than what
So
you
what's
had
the
before.
point?
Yeah, what's the point?
Does flying around at least feel good?
It does.
The flying around feels very great.
good.
They should have made an Iron Man simulator.
Honestly,
just call it a day.
That's honestly
That's what
this
everyone
game
was
is.
saying.
Yeah,
Sell it to
it's
Crystal
like an Iron
Dynamics
Man
for their
simulator,
Marvel game.
Yeah.
Fucking
I mean,
That
you know,
game is gonna suck.
like I said, the combat is good. The combat is solid. You know, when you get into those firefights, it is very satisfying.
Yeah.
But there's no death. There's no substance to the story.
I think it's literally about game feel in the same way that like when you have a
beer is about mouthfeel.
Mouthfeel, exactly. But I think it's all attributed to the same thing. I think instinctually we know controller to TV or keyboard and mouse to a monitor, you're always going to experience a kind of association. Whether or not you appreciate it is all based on whether or not you play enough games or are observant enough. And so it's like, is the connection between you and the screen good?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I'm curious. I don't know if I'll ever play it, but I am very curious that they're still sticking with this game.
If it's ever released on
It's going to be free to play.
If it's released on PS Plus,
No, it'll be free to play. It has to be.
It'll be on EA Access.
That's the only way that they
It's
can
going to be a
afford it.
and I'll guarantee you they're going to have a battle royale mode.
Oh God!
All right. Okay.
No,
We're
they
almost
are.
at about 2 hours for this episode. We're gonna do a quick round.
Bullshit.
We're gonna do a quick round, and I say quick.
Yes.
I mean we each get 1
fine.
minute. Favorite Bioware game of all time. Tom, you're first.
What? Oh my God.
God.
Don't ever do this to me. Oh, fuck. I guess I would say Mass Effect 2.
Mass Effect 2.
Dragon Age Inquisition.
I'll go Mass Effect 1.
Okay.
Screw all you guys.
Yeah. I love Dragon Age 2 Stoy.
I mean, I love Mass Effect 2. Absolutely. I remember like when I beat
That
the game.
suicide mission.
And I the only character that I had die was Morden, and I was so distraught that I had to start the game over.
So
right immediately.
I guess before we do end, if I can ask a question.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
This is the rise and fall of BioWare. BioWare is not done as a developer. They are rebooting.
Everyone's
Anthem.
gone except Casey Hudson. It's not the Bioware we
What do
know
you think?
anymore.
I mean, honestly, what do you guys think BioWare in the future?
care.
Do they?
I don't care.
Do they survive?
No.
Do they?
I think the
Pull it up.
only way
Broken
turn it around?
absorbed.
if EA gave them space and
Yes.
gave the people that want to be creative room to grow,
Yes. Which
won't
there is a chance.
Yes.
I mean, it won't happen. But if there was, if they gave creative talent the ability to expand the Mass Effect universe, they could flourish again. But as long as EA is going to try and restrict according to schedules and billing cycles, I don't see it working anymore.
What if Dragon Age 4 is a huge
consider the
hit?
trend that's been happening over the last year and a half is how many delays are happening more and more on a almost like daily basis where like, now it's not about like meeting your quarter quotas. Now it's about just putting out a good game. They're not like EA has always been like, well, you have to put this out by the end of the quarter. Otherwise, we're just going to cancel the project or whatever, which is what EA has been known for years.
I do think they're shifting their viewpoints a little.
Yes.
Because I think they've been proven that if you just release something that they think is supposed to be good based on, I don't know, marketing research, they realize that that's just not the fucking case
Mass
anymore.
Effect Andromeda had like a trial run and it got good enough reviews, like 80s, 85s. And then it released and it was like 70s.
I really do think that they are loosening their grip on the whole Frostbite mandate. Given Respawn, they're able to use Unreal, that Star Wars game, that Jedi Fallen Order that came out, sold excellent, like over 8 million copies.
There's already a second one. Yeah.
So just based on that, I think if they're giving Respawn, obviously they're a great studio.
They're making them so much money with Apex Legends. They're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want.
Mm-hmm. Well, true, but I think maybe now, I don't know. I think that Frostbite.
I just want a Titanfall 3. God,
please give me a Titanfall 3.
That would be God, please.
Yeah. But I agree. I think that Frostbite mandate.
Back to Bioware. Back to Bioware. We gotta take this home. We gotta take this home.
It's fine.
It's
fine. Whatever.
I think Bioware has a chance to have a comeback story.
They just need an auteur.
And I think the problem is that I think almost everybody there that had a strong vision has left the company because
they're doing other things.
It's a shell of what it used to be.
It is. But that happens a lot. I mean, that's not a unique thing to them.
Yeah, no. I mean, Doom is the new Doom game is not being made by the original two there.
Right.
But
you just need a strong creative.
And that could be anybody. Room to flourish. I think Dragon Age 4 is going to be a make or break for Bioware.
I agree.
I expect good things.
Like a dud, that's the end of Bioware, like officially.
Yeah,
there's
no coming back from that.
Casey Hudson, who I initially had a lot of respect and reverence for, after the Project Dylan fiasco, him leaving and coming back, I'm like, I don't know if I trust you. It might have
You
been.
gave me 8 hits and 1 dud, and I hate you now.
I hate hearing my name.
I don't know. I mean, it's also
Project Dylan. I hate this. I really fucking hate hearing that.
It's who is your supporting team? It's like Final Fantasy VII. Is it Sakaguchi? Is it Katase? Is it Nomura? Is it Nojima? There's a lot of people contributing to one game, and Casey Hudson's given credit for KOTOR and the Mass Effect trilogy, but you have Karpashin. You have you had Ray and Greg at the time. You have people that are making big decisions besides him, and if he's his first huge thing that he's pushing hard is Dylan. And he leaves Dylan.
Stop saying
and he comes back to Dylan.
Stop
and he's
saying
like,
Dylan.
and he's like, hey there, Big Tex. I'm giving you another try.
Fuck.
And on that note,
I need you to love me.
Stoy, where can our fans find you?
Well, I'm part of the podcast EXPcast. We're a video game podcast where, we talk about video games.
Woo!
You can follow us on,
baby.
Homegrown.
That's right.
We record every Sunday. We put out episodes every Monday morning. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at EXPcast. And then follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/EXPcast, where we do have a lot of bonus content and bonus episodes with other people. We got to get to some of you guys on to maybe continue some more conversation.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
we would always up for it.
Yeah. We have a similar setup, kind of like what you guys have here. But we don't have these fancy Joe Rogan microphones.
I love it. That's what people call them. That's what
Joe
they call
Rogan microphones. We like to call them.
We got the Rogans.
We call them.
Dylan, you're kind of like you've been holding that thing. Your arms got to be tired, man.
He just got hired a couple weeks ago.
This is the one I'm always forced to have. I just pretend I'm singing Sinatra the whole time.
Luck me a lady.
Exactly.
Tom, where can they find the Dogcast?
Oh, the Dogcast. Go listen to us. We podcast with this group of people. Most of these people here,
plus Josh,
every other week, and find us at Hot Dogcast on the Twitter, Facebooks, Instagrams. Email us at hairofthedogcast@gmail.com. Tell us all your BioWare stories. Tell us how wrong we are, how right we are.
Exactly.
How right all of us are about Anthem.
Subscribe to our Patreon. We're looking for more people to subscribe. We want to create more stuff for you. That is the main theme of everything that's been going on recently. We just need a little bit more interest. Once that interest shows up, snap, dude, we're ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I've got to say.
Sweet.
Like, we've got some stuff planned, and if you show it, we're willing to give it. That's all I got.
And what I'm going to say is directly to you, Greg Zeschuk. I messaged your brewery, and I haven't heard back from you yet. And I'm going to just go ahead and make a YouTube video out of this, and it's me pleading. We want to talk with you. We are fascinated with your career trajectory. We love craft beer. That's what we all do. That's what we're interested in.
Yeah.
And we love Bioware. We love doctors.
You went from... I'm not
Canada. I love Canada.
Mean, I'm not huge into the doctor scene. I don't know much about Canada, but you went from video games and then you careened hard into the craft beer scene. You grew a beard. We want to talk. We have questions for you. We can only talk about beer. We can only talk about
Tom's not allowed to have a beard, but me and Brad, we are bearded gentlemen.
I shaved mine today. Sorry, guys.
Mr. Zeschuk.
I'm not allowed to have a beard either, so I feel your pain.
Apart from that,
well, let's send this to his rep.
Oh, dude, no, I'm making a small video, which is going to be like this 2-minute, just tweet it at him every day until he responds. I don't give a fuck.
I would love to talk to him.
We're going to at you, bro.
If you want a romance option, we'll hook it up.
We're going to ask him who he'd prefer to romance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me or Brad.
This has been Raw Dogs. Dylan and I are so happy you've been listening. Tom, thanks for joining us again.
All the time.
Stoy, we love EXPcast. We love you.
I had a great time with you guys. This was awesome.
I'm so glad you had a good time.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks
really
for
it.
proposing this subject as well.
Clearly, it was a very passionate subject.
I think, man, I think
for video games in general, this is one of those big ones.
I had to cut everybody off so fucking much because Tom has to leave in 6 hours for a flight.
Oh, well, I appreciate you guys for accommodating the schedule, but yeah, we could. Yeah, I'm good.
I mean, Mass Effect, we could do a 10-part series, but
we really could.
Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Raw Dogs. We're on the Greenlit Podcast Network. We love you. And if you see a romance option between me or Dylan, go Paragon.
Oh,
who is Paragon?
That's when you just don't bang either of us.
I mean, I'm technically
Renegade.
Technically Renegade.
Okay. Well, there's your
technically.
answer.
It's the female shepherd. Now that they're fertile again. Oh, I haven't slept in I don't know how long.
Can I get you two anything?
2 more drinks and another bag of ice.